So a group of people who are apparently smarter than us have this fake clock, and they said that it's now 90 seconds until midnight, and that apparently means the world's going to end in nuclear annihilation. And I think these guys, well, I shouldn't say guys because there's women, they did this big ceremony where they like pull down the sheet. They do it all the time. And they're like, the clock has moved to 90 seconds to midnight. And they're all like, actually, they don't say anything. They just like turn very slowly and then stand there and don't move. Must be very awkward to film. But I think they must be really excited when war was declared and Russia moved into Ukraine, because they were like, hey, we're once again relevant in discussing nuclear annihilation. Because for the longest time, nobody was really talking about nuclear war. And they moved the clock up to, I think, 100 seconds to midnight, which means, the end of the world, because of climate change. Then Russia does its Russia thing, invades Ukraine, and I'm sure they were like, "Ooh, let's talk about nuclear annihilation." So we will, and I want to give a shout out to the movie Watchmen, because it's one of my favorite lines ever. When Dr. Manhattan, the character, is asked about the doomsday clock being moved 5 minutes to midnight, he says, "It's as nourishing as a photo of oxygen to a drowning man." And I guess simply put, this is complete meaningless nonsense. But that being said, the U.S. is going to be sending tanks into Ukraine. Russia's pissed. Russian propagandists are saying it's already World War III. Just fire the nukes already. And look at that. We're talking about this again after that huge show last night with Steven Crowder. So we're going to get into that. But before we get started, head over to Timcast.com. Become a member to support our work directly. Click that Join Us button, and you'll get access to exclusive members-only segments of this show. We had a really awesome time with Steven Crowder last night. We talked for a little bit longer than normal, so the episode went up a little late, but we talked about inside baseball, inner workings of business, and there's some jokes and stuff. It's really interesting. If you want to check it out, go to Timcast.com. Join us, support our work, and as a member, you're helping our cultural endeavors as well as the work we do in reporting the news. So don't forget to also smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, take this video, share that URL, whatever. It's the most powerful thing you can do. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Nuance, bro.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's cool to be on.
Right on. What is Nuance, bro? It's not a name. Is it a...
Yeah, I mean, it's a YouTube channel, Twitter page. I haven't made YouTube channel videos for like 3 months now, but I've been doing a lot of Twitter stuff, spaces. You were in one of the spaces not too long ago.
Yeah, that was cool.
By the way, I brought you guys some gifts, if I could give you guys some gifts.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, I love them.
All right, let's see. It's kind of weird gifts for weird people. I brought a rubber ducky from Lufthansa first class terminal in Germany, so that's one of the gifts.
For who?
I don't know. What one of you guys? I brought. These are like coasters from Iran, so this is like a
cool.
sanctioned
That's cool,
country.
actually.
So
Let me. And I will also just say, as you're getting the
Sure.
gift, I did not know you had gifts prepared, but Luke and Ian are gone.
Yeah, they're gone now.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
They got dragged off by bears last night. Nothing we can do about it.
speaking of bears, tigers. This is Russian tiger ammo for AKs.
Yeah.
These are a lot harder to get these days.
This is AK ammo.
Yeah. And then one more. Well, actually, no, two more. I got Yugo AK ammo, so country that doesn't exist anymore. And then these are like women who are impoverished in Iran make this sort of stuff. This little thing. So yeah, just some gifts for the people around.
Oh, cool.
you.
Well, we appreciate it. Right on, man.
Cool.
Thanks for hanging out. It's going to be fun. We also have Hannah Claire. She's taken Luke's seat from him.
Yeah, I've reclaimed my seat, I'd like to say, or won it back from Seamus, too. Yeah, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for Timcast.com. I did not realize I was sitting next to Mary Poppins over here with a bag full of stuff, but it's a good night.
I kind of feel like, Serge put up that picture of Biden over your shoulder.
I am feeling uncomfortable. I don't love it, I have to say.
Because there was like dead
cool.
wall space because Luke took his stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sat down and he was like, yeah, I mean, we could try and find something else. And I was like,
We need to replace that thing. For sure.
Did Jessica paint it, or did it come from someone else?
Yeah, Jessica painted that.
Jessica's incredibly talented, and let me tell you, this one's spooky.
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, you get to have Biden over your shoulder. There you go.
I couldn't think of anything else. There's
All
nothing
right.
else here.
Well, we got Phil's hanging out because so Ian is on a mission to save Bocus, the cat. Mm-hmm. Bocus is going for an experimental stem cell therapy to try and regenerate his kidneys, and he doesn't have much time left. As most of you know, Bocus is the cat. Ian doesn't want Bocus to die, neither do I. So he went on a mission. They're filming it. He's bringing him to a state-of-the-art facility for experimental stem cell. They take stem cells from his blood and fat, then multiply them and put them back into his bloodstream to repair his kidneys.
That's cool.
Fingers crossed. We're hoping for Bocus. I am Phil Labonte, the guy that yells in All That Remains, and I am here to give my input on whatever we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, it's
gonna
like
be fun.
season 6 character change. Just go with it. Is what
I'm
you
just
do.
here to make noise, man.
We shouldn't even have acknowledged that they were gone. Just pretended like this is what we were doing the whole time.
I'm here to take. I'll take up the anarchisty stuff for Luke. You know, we can dump on the Fed.
Right.
Nice.
Serge is back. Pressing all the buttons.
Yes, a little bit of fake news. I didn't miss my flight. Frontier just delayed my flight for like 9 hours, and I was stuck in the airport, and it was great. I got to walk around an airport. It's a really lovely experience. But I'm back. Kellen did a great job at Kellen PDL. You should follow him because he really picked up the mantle and held the torch quite well, I think. So, yeah.
Right on. Yeah, we got a bunch of other stuff to talk about too.
Oh, yeah.
I really want to talk about Rick and Morty because he got canned or whatever. He got canceled. So we'll
Yeah.
talk about Justin Roiland. But let's jump into this first story because I guess it matters.
Nuclear war.
Nuclear war matters. The New York Times reports a doomsday clock moves closer to midnight than ever. The bulletin of the atomic scientists set the clock at 90 seconds to midnight on Tuesday, citing the war in Ukraine as well as climate change. Okay, so both. Online disinformation and other threats. Ugh.
See, that's what gets
Sniffing
me
their
here.
own farts.
What are they saying is disinformation? Where they're like, anything is bad. We really want you to pay attention to our organization.
Anything they disagree with or would inhibit their accruement of power is disinformation.
So what the main issue is that Russia there's war. Russian personalities on TV have outright said we're in World War III, and they've been saying it for months now. It's been going on for like 6 months. We're in World War III. Just fire the nukes already. And we're sitting here going like, no, nukes can't happen. Nukes can't happen. And I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. I kind of feel like they could happen. And now you have this this clock, which is, I think it's the stupidest thing.
Well, how
ever.
long has it even existed? That's what I want.
1947.
So they think we're even closer than the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Exactly, and that's.
Well, we didn't have disinformation then. It's very
true.
important that we count for modern day disinformation.
Yeah, that's
You gotta take
probably the big one. That's bringing the clock closer.
You got to take into consideration, back when the Soviets were putting nuclear missiles at our doorstep, they did not have middle-aged fat men with MAGA hats posting memes.
There was no orange man to be worried about.
That's right. That's right. And then once Trump came along, the clock just went straight to like 1 second to midnight. They were like, Trump. No, that didn't really. But it was at 100 seconds to midnight. Look, here's the point. There's a legitimate point to be made that we are dangerously close to annihilation because psychopaths in both parties are like, yay, war. And Kevin McCarthy's wearing the lapel pin and the handkerchief, like supporting Ukraine. They all want to vote for more funding to send over there to instigate more conflict, more than it already is. And as much as I will say outright, of course, Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia's the aggressor, all that. The U.S. is not on the border of Russia. Russia is in a border dispute with a border country on its border. The United States is on the other side of the planet, quite literally. Why are we involved in this, especially if it's going to escalate us to World War III?
Yeah. Have you seen the ceremony that they do when they reveal the clock? They have it like covered and they go,
Yeah.
and they just like look and you're like, yeah, look how close we are. You know,
Sick.
it's like you just
Scary,
made it up.
right?
You just put a time on there and you just made it up.
They're just like-
whatever.
And what is the
Yeah.
calculation behind this? Like, how do they get to like 90 seconds? Like, what fake information that they're afraid of versus war? Like, why weren't we already at 90 seconds?
Here, let's play the little ceremony for you guys.
Oh, goodness.
It's funny because
The members
I want you to imagine all these people, like there's 5 people and they're supposed to look like academic and smart. But imagine filming this. There's a voiceover and they just stand there for a minute, pull the thing down, and then stand there again.
The members of the Science and Security Board moved the hands of the Doomsday Clock forward, largely, though not exclusively, because
Are
of
they
the
breathing?
mounting dangers
Yeah.
in the war in Ukraine. We moved the clock forward the closest it has ever been to midnight. It is now 90 seconds to midnight.
I feel like that's the title of an action movie. You know what I mean? Like,
There's a
How
great
did
song
they-
by Iron Maiden called 2 Minutes to Midnight.
And look, it's like,
we're not scared of that.
no, look at this. For 20 seconds, they just stand there and do nothing.
So we zoom in.
And they zoom in. It's nice. And like, could you imagine?
Also, someone made that.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. Like, imagine you're like a props department, it's some, for some production company or something, and you get a phone call like, can you make a clock that signals the world is about to end?
Do you get in trouble if you leak the time?
But only
Oh no! They leaked the 90 seconds. Everyone found out too early.
but only a little bit of the clock because we really got to stress how
Yeah, that's
close
what I was
we
going
are.
to say. Like, has it? Clearly, this is not the same clock since 1947.
Yeah,
Like, has
it's
it
always-
always been like the quarter? Has it ever been like more
Actually,
than has
yeah.
it ever gone? Has it ever been further away?
It has.
They probably changed it to
Hasn't
just a
further.
quarter when they wanted to make the impact. You know,
Also,
have more impact.
Was there something specific that today, like, we reached 90 seconds? Did we reach it last week? Like,
I don't
don't
know
understand this at
particularly if
all.
there's anything policy wise, but I mean, I think it's a bad idea to send Abrams tanks to Ukraine.
did you ever, like, hear someone count down for their kid and be like, if you don't do something by the time I count to 3, like, you're in
Yes.
trouble? And it's like, 1, 2,
2.5. And the kid's just like, I ain't moving. I'm not.
Yeah, did they ever break it down to like, milliseconds at some point? We're like 5 milliseconds away from midnight.
Well, because it's
Well, this is the
relative,
closest
right?
it's ever been.
Obviously, the clock means nothing. They're saying this, and like I said, like legitimate point about the potential for annihilation. But what happens if tomorrow Vladimir Putin actually fires a nuke, and it's limited, and it's like a tactical nuke that blows up a military base? So nuclear war has begun. Are they going to then be like, it's 45 seconds to midnight?
Is
And then what
Doomsday-
happens if the U.S. retaliates with a nuclear torpedo strike, and they're like, it's
44 seconds.
44 seconds?
Yeah.
And they're sitting there thinking like, guys, we only have 44 seconds left. If we want to up the clock every time we get closer to nuclear annihilation, we're going to run out of seconds.
No, it's like Bitcoin. You just break it down to Satoshis. You can always just break it down more.
We're
100,000 or
3/4 of a second to midnight.
Are we going to do milliseconds?
Yeah.
Yeah, might as
So
well.
apparently when it was 17 minutes to midnight, this is what it looked like. It's like they still only...
When was that? What year was that?
I don't know. This was 1991. Okay.
Oh,
I do
right
know.
after the fall of the Soviet Union.
Right. They were like, everything's fine.
Which was ridiculous because it's not like there was fewer nuclear weapons when the Soviet Union fell.
It was worse.
Yeah, it was worse
Like,
because there
the
was not
Soviet
a
Union fell, and then Ukraine was like, all of a sudden we have nukes, and then everyone was kind of like, hold on there a minute, like, yup.
Except for the Doomsday Clock. They were like, we're doing
It's
better.
fine. It's fine.
No worries.
You know those nukes they left lying around all over the place after the collapse of the Soviet Union? Actually, less likely to be a problem now, despite we don't know who's controlling them.
Yeah.
The Doomsday Clock is not afraid of that. They really are afraid of whatever Putin's doing and disinformation, I assume in
Disinformation.
America.
I feel like the Doomsday Clock is just another piece of propaganda for NGOs to use to try to influence political opinions in countries that they don't have
You're not gonna-
that they don't have the ability to actually influence policy other than to try and get people to vote a certain way.
You're not going
When
to set your
they-
watch by it?
When they
No.
first launched it, 1947, it was 7 minutes to midnight, and that was that for a year, and then it went to 3 minutes. It was at 2 minutes.
Hey, you got your song.
I don't think it's ever been in the seconds.
Till now.
100
Yeah.
seconds over there. 2021.
Wait, so it's never been more than 15 minutes, so they only had to ever do the quarter of that. Oh, wait. I think I see 17 minutes there.
Yeah, right here.
That was 91. Okay.
Right, that's right.
That's the
1991,
furthest
it was
ever been.
17.
That's the farthest we've been
Yep.
after the fall of the Soviet Union?
Yeah, Soviet Union falls. Nuclear missiles
gotta-
are
you
in the
gotta-
hands of multiple countries. Nobody knows where they are.
The atomic scientists are like, no
It's
worries.
fine.
Absolutely
It's fine.
You got to admit though, it sounds really cool.
It does.
5 minutes to
I'm telling you,
midnight.
this is an action movie. If the castle doesn't immediately make this a vlog, I will be
think it's a movie.
livid.
It probably is a movie.
90 seconds to midnight?
No, or 5 minutes.
2 minutes to midnight is. I'm
Look,
pretty
they're giving
sure
us a
2
ton
minutes
of
to midnight
options is what I'm
an actual
saying.
movie as well.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Yeah. But what do you think? What do you guys think about what's going to happen with Ukraine? I mean, it's kind of funny that we're going on to a year into this war, and here's the challenge. The big news today was like they found classified documents at Mike Pence's house, and I just was like, I don't care. This is the third classified document scandal. They shouldn't have raided Trump, so they went after Biden. I say, okay, fine. If they're going to raid Trump, they're going to raid Biden. Now Mike Pence has it. I'm like, just lock them up, all of them. I don't care anymore.
This is just a symptom of the fact that Washington is way too secret heavy. They classify everything they possibly can because they don't want to have to answer for whatever they don't want to have to deal with dealing with the press or whatever. The majority of classified documents, and this is just a guess, but I imagine the majority of classified documents are not actually going to, if they were to be, if the information were to get out, it's not going to put the U.S. at risk. The majority of them, I think they just classify way too much stuff.
I'm just saying, the clock people came out today because they knew that there's nothing going on.
Yeah, they're like, we have our shot in the
Yeah.
media. I think it'd be more fun to guess who we're not going to find classified documents with. You know what I mean? Like, I think Michelle
Kamala.
Obama's going to be fine. Kamala's going to be good.
No, Michelle Obama's in trouble. They're going to find classified documents with her because they trust her with things. But Kamala Harris, they were like, you can't.
You stay over there.
You know?
There is no part of me that would be surprised if President Obama had classified documents at this point.
Yeah.
With
I feel
Biden
like-
and Biden stuff since he was in the Senate. And
then when Comer today, the head of
Comer?
he's the congressman from Kentucky, who's on the head of the Oversights Committee, and he is requesting all of the documents, the visitor logs from the Secret Service from Biden's house in Wilmington, from the time that he was vice president for Obama to now.
Is the house in Wilmington the one that
they just found?
Didn't
even
they
more
claim
documents
they
in?
don't have visitor logs for that?
Okay,
They did.
So the
They
New
made
York
that claim.
Post, this is in April, filed a FOIA request and was like, please turn over your visitor logs. And they're like, no, we don't keep any. And now they're saying, well, we don't keep visitor logs, but we do keep a list of people in case there's like a potential reason that we may need to know.
they
who's
just
there.
don't want to have to
That's
answer
a visitor
questions.
log,
I was
aka
like,
a visitor log.
I don't know
yeah.
what you're talking about here. So
It's literally the government just doesn't want to answer questions. The more things that they can classify and just say, oh, it's classified, just so they don't have to, just so that way they don't have to answer. It's not about any sensitive information. It's just a matter of, if we go ahead and classify it, then we can ignore the questions and just move along to focus on whatever the policy that we're trying to.
I mean, I'm a lot
approach
more
on.
interested in why now, why all these people at the same time with these classified documents. It seems really fishy to me why this is happening all of a sudden. So I'm more interested about like the reasoning for that.
the documents being found by President Biden's aides.
Just
They're like,
by everyone all of a sudden at the same time for like Trump, Pence, Biden, whoever.
Well, that's why I asked who's going to stay standing.
Let me pull up this story from Timcast. Donald Trump, leave him alone. Trump responds to classified documents found at Mike Pence's residence. He never did anything knowingly dishonest in his life. Trump took to his social media site Truth Social defending the former vice president. Mike Pence is an innocent man. He never did anything knowingly dishonest in his life. Leave him alone. I think he's being sarcastic. Is that the point?
I
not a fan
don't
of-
know.
So
Guarantee you Chris Bertman wrote this story.
For those just tuning in, did he?
Yeah, I bet.
Yes, he did. For those just tuning in, they found documents at Mike Pence's house. And it's like, okay, why at this point, Nuance Bro is making the point, how come this is happening now with everybody? Trump gets hit, he gets raided. Now the DOJ is searching Biden's house. Now they're searching Pence's house. Is like the military finally, or the DOJ, the executive branch, some coup d'etat where they're finally like, let's just get rid of anybody who's got any executive chances. The president, the former president, the vice president, we're all gone.
They're not going to be able to prosecute any of this stuff.
What happened to Hillary when we found stuff?
Nothing.
But we weren't supposed to.
Nothing at all.
Interesting, right?
Nothing. And Hillary was in no position to declassify anything. She wasn't even in the executive branch. She was a member of state.
But it's a good question you asked. Why is this why is it happening to all these people right now? Like, why do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, did you see the other story about the FBI guy who was leading the investigation?
Was colluding with Russia.
Yeah, like he leads the Russia investigation against Trump, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we're charging him for colluding with Russia." Like, there's something going on. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like the deep state trying to get rid of Biden, but in like a weird way where they're like, oh, but like there's other people we're trying
They're all just
we're fair,
clowns.
maybe trying to reestablish their their reputation with the American public. I don't know what it is.
I mean, I suppose that makes sense if the Department of Justice was going to go ahead and say, all right, let's start trying to fix our image because we've allowed it to be tarnished so bad, and the American people don't trust the DOJ.
No, I don't think they would be doing it like legitimately. Like this would be like the veil under which they say like, oh, see, we're hitting everybody, but they have a bigger agenda potentially at play where maybe they're not so happy with Biden and they want to get rid of him. I have no idea.
But who
that's
do they
fun.
want? Like in that case, if they don't want Biden anymore, who do they want?
Someone who can win, someone who doesn't
Kevin
go against
McCarthy.
their wishes in pulling out of Afghanistan. Maybe Newsom. I don't know.
Newsom. I think Newsom's the guy. I think Newsom's the guy that the Democrats are going to be.
Look. If you were a deep state cabal conspiracy villain and you wanted someone to fit the mold of, like puppet Machiavellian, Manchurian candidate, like Newsom's your guy. I mean, look at him. He looks like he's probably a lizard person,
He's American Psycho.
He is American Psycho.
Exactly. So you're sitting there and you're like, look, I'm evil and trying to rule the world. This guy looks like he fits the mold. He's like a young Bond villain. Like Klaus Schwab is the old Bond villain, but he's like the number two. He could be the Bond villain. You can do it.
Yeah.
There's a comic book character that he reminds me of. I don't remember the comic book character's name. It was a tertiary character, but it was just the way that the hair was, that it kind of flew back like pointy, and he would shoot ice from his hands, kind of like Iceman. I don't remember who the guy was, but
That'd be cool if Newsom could shoot ice from his hands. I might vote for him.
I mean, he could fix the drought they're having in California.
Yeah.
if he could,
And
so.
global warming.
Oh,
You know?
true.
I actually met him when I was a kid. I was at the mall in San Francisco, and he's just like sitting there on his phone, and I'm like a little kid. I'm like, Mayor Newsom, and he's like, yeah. and I was like,
He shoots you with ice.
he's like, can I help you? And then he's like, okay. And he goes back on his phone. I went and watched the movies for like 4 hours, and I come back, and he's still walking around.
How old
the
were
mall
you?
I don't remember. It was a while back, but he was not very nice. But I met the other mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown. That guy was super nice. That was the guy who like hooked up with Kamala Harris, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, he was getting it. He was probably in a good mood.
Seemed like a happy guy.
Yeah, it was probably around that time actually. When you met
maybe.
him.
Good for the
Maybe.
vice president.
How do you feel about London Breed? How's she doing? I feel like every day someone is.
I mean,
after
listen,
her.
it's San Francisco. You have to, you go with what you get. I mean, she's better than Chesa Boudin, who was the AG who got recalled. But I don't know. She's still not great. She's still like, she just goes with whatever the political winds are in San Francisco. She was for defunding the police. Then when she was like, oh, that's unpopular, even with San Francisco. Okay, no, I never did that. I didn't support that at all. So
Is it unpopular in San Francisco?
it is, yeah.
Really?
Like that's why they recalled Chesa Boudin.
Was Chesa Boudin with the one with Weather Underground ties? Like
Yeah,
his
that was
Yeah,
the
his
one
dad.
where his biological parents were put in prison for like a Brinks bank robbery back in the day, and then his godparents, who I guess
Raised him.
that raised him, were Bernadine Dorn and Bill Ayers, who were the founders of like
Yeah,
Weather
yeah.
Underground.
But there's
So-
nothing to see here. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry. He's totally just like one of those normal Antifa communist types.
But he's your local attorney
Infuriating.
general.
yeah.
So are we 90 seconds to midnight because the country is going to implode on itself?
No.
Like well hold on, don't jump the gun too soon. Here's what I'm saying. You asked why it was that all of a sudden we're seeing documents about Mike Pence. Could it be that the political divide is inside our executive branch? So this is what I said in 2018. I was saying that I think we're on the track towards a civil war. And it wasn't because one day I just decided. It was because I was reading The Atlantic or something. And they were like, all these security experts around the world fear the civil war is possible in the United States. The aggregate estimate is like 35% chance over the next 10 years. And I was like, wow. And then I looked at the points they were saying and I said, with the escalation of the political conflict in the streets, with the bifurcation of worldview, and I'm like, yeah, it seems like sooner or later this happens. And I had a bunch of conservatives be like, no, it can never happen. The security state would never allow it. And then I'm like, my guy, what happens when the security state is impacted by the very same cultural divide and the same worldview divide? What happens when you have the DC bureau of the FBI, very pro-Democrat, raid Donald Trump, and then you get a Florida bureau who is pissed off, and so they say this is BS. So then they say, you know what, we're going to file and we're going to raid Biden's house, or somebody in Delaware does, and then you get the DC bureau again being like, they're going to come after Biden, we're going after Pence. And it's what's happening is inside the DOJ, they're going tit for tat back and forth with their political enemies.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an exciting, interesting idea that I would kind of hope is actually going on.
Matt Taibbi wrote a few years ago that we were close to this thing he called the arrest that man. I think he called it the arrest that man phase, or I don't want to misquote Matt, but he was basically saying that he's seen it in other countries where you get to the point where two black vehicles with government officials, they speed off full speed, driving and weaving through the streets. They both pull up to the chief of police. They both jump out of the car and yell, "Officer, arrest that man," at each other. And that's what it feels like we're getting to with this.
Yeah.
Why would the DOJ go after the former president, the former vice president, and the sitting president? And Hunter Biden's being investigated too. And everybody's saying, what could this be? Is the deep state trying to get rid of Joe Biden? Yo, what if, I'll tell you this, I've talked to people who work in intelligence, and I've had them say, you got to understand, it's the same everywhere, as it's the same in here as it is everywhere else. I've had, there's a guy I met, I won't say too much, but a couple guys of different intelligence agencies, and you know, I get emails from people and they say, hey, Tim, I work here. Let me tell you what's going on. I've met people in person. They say, hey, look, here's where I work. Here's what's happening. And I'm like, why are we seeing this heavy bias from the DOJ, from the FBI? Like, why are they arresting pro-life activists, but ignoring the protesters in front of Brett Kavanaugh's house? What I'm told, paraphrasing, the gist of it is it's the exact same. The based agents are scared to speak up and actually move on the far left because they'll get fired, they'll get canceled, and there's higher up elements that they believe are woke will come after them. So they're like, the divide is the same everywhere. It's the same in here. So there are a bunch of cops who are a bunch of FBI agents, intelligence guys who are, pro-Trump or MAGA or conservative or libertarian, but they won't speak up. What if now we're actually seeing a seat of power where the DC Bureau, I think it's the DC Bureau of the FBI is the ones that have been really heavy-handed, went after Donald Trump, went after Mar-a-Lago. What if now we're finally seeing some FBI agents be brave and say, we're going to go after Biden.
So
we're going to actually do our jobs.
So are you saying it's time, like it's likely that Merrick Garland will get removed? I mean, what is the shift here? Because Merrick Garland theoretically is at the center of this idea.
I'm saying, my understanding is that these branches all operate relatively independently. Like there is a centralization, there's some authority, but it's not like some dude in Omaha is calling up DC to let them know that they're going to go arrest a guy who is no, like they handle it on their own. They go to their district court, they go to the state,
they have autonomy,
the U.S. courts and things like that. To a certain degree, they have autonomy. They're expected to operate. My understanding is that there are people who are in these agencies or in the FBI or in the DOJ who do think Biden's corrupt, who do think that Hunter Biden is corrupt, that they're doing these illicit deals, but no one has the balls to do anything. I don't know, maybe Project Veritas got to him. Maybe James O'Keefe constantly saying, be brave. Maybe the FBI whistleblowers who came to James O'Keefe finally started inspiring some people at the mid-level who are like, we're going to go take a look at the president's house. Now, that being said, it was Biden's aides and lawyers who discovered and then released the documents. But it very well may be the reason they're pursuing the search is because there are people who are finally like, I'm done with this. I'm going to start going into it. And then why does Pence get hit? I wouldn't be surprised if it's because the corruption they're now saying, okay, we're going after you. We're going to one-up and we're going after your guys.
Sure. And I also wondered with Biden's release, like if his aides are finding them, are they just trying to get out ahead of it? Like it looks chaotic to us, but like, was there another threat in play where they're like, well, we have to be the ones to say that we found documents. It has to come from our house.
I just want to say that's the most white-pilling story that I've heard in ages. I love the idea of the government going after the government. Yeah, it just makes me happy.
Maybe, but I don't see it as a white pill moment. Now, I want to clarify. It was Biden's team who notified the DOJ of the documents. It was Pence's team who notified the FBI of the documents. So maybe it's just these guys are, I don't know.
So do we wait for Obama to also be like, as it turns out, I too have some documents. Like,
and then Bill Clinton stands up, I also have documents. And then George W. Bush says, I do too. And then they all like stand together like, I'm Spartacus.
Can't take us all. That's what they're saying.
They should take them all to jail.
They're surrounding Trump, even Biden is. I am Spartacus. Trump's like, he's got a tear in his eye. He's like, thank you guys. And they're like, you come for one of us, you come for us all.
They would never defend Trump.
Look, I don't know. I just think it's possible that we do get to the point, and this to me doesn't sound like a white pill. I don't think it's a black pill either, but we have to come to a certain point where either, like I mentioned, the FBI is arresting pro-life activists in their homes, ignoring protesters in front of judges' homes, which is also illegal, in the same capacity of illegal. Protesting here's illegal, protesting here's illegal. They're only going one direction. Certainly at some point, there's going to be a guy in the FBI who's like, I am done. I'm filing the paperwork. You're under arrest.
Yeah, I mean, it could also be positioning for future administrations. I mean, if you're in a political position in the FBI currently under a Democratic administration, when a new administration comes in and they want to clean house potentially in the executive branch and they, replace AG and everything, or they replace, head of DOJ, like, you could be the person being like, hey, I'm the one who went after Biden and his documents, even under a Democratic administration. Like, I'm the legit principled guy. You can still keep me around. I don't know. There could be something
they're
like that
jumping off
on.
this sinking ship kind of thing.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Look, 10 years ago, we had Gamergate. You had a bunch of like left liberal internet personalities, and they were called far right and all that stuff. And then you get the ignition of the culture war. The culture war had been happening to a certain degree loosely, and then finally it like kicks off with Gamergate. And now, 10 years ago, there were teenagers. They were 16 years old when this stuff was happening, and they were online and thought it was funny. And they were on one side or the other. These people are now 26 years old. They are now the interns working at some of these big corporations or intelligence agencies or government or congressional offices.
Or at SCOTUS.
Leaking documents. 10 years from now, they will be in their mid-30s, and they will be the mid to higher level managers. And in your mid-30s, we're talking CEOs. We're talking members of Congress. We're talking people in state government. And they are going to be in the culture war. So that bifurcation that happened and that split, as people get older, the split is going to be hitting every level of our culture, government, production, infrastructure. And when we get to the point where the boomers have, let's just call it aged out, no longer voting, no longer having an impact on our society, and it's Gen Xers holding desperately on to keep things together. Sorry, you got millennials, you got Gen Z, and then you're going to have the young Gen Alpha coming in to vote, and they are all going to be in Universe 1 and Universe A. I watched a video where a drag queen performed for teenagers at a high school, and everyone's clapping like this, and they're wiggling little sticks in the air, and I'm like, that's a completely different universe. Like the people who watch this show, the people who people who watch Crowded, the people who watch Daily Wire, to ignite that controversy, but the people who watch this space would not be clapping and cheering watching drag queens in lewd outfits perform for children, but to them, they like it. It's normal. I'm like, two completely different worlds.
Well,
literally.
There was that video of like a little toddler like shooting his pistol or whatever, and people were like, "Oh, you're not okay with like kids doing drag shows, but you are okay with this. You're pushing a agenda."
That was one of the most insane discourses on Twitter that I've seen in a long time.
It's like two countries exist already. It's just not obvious that they have completely separated.
In that example, they were calling it grooming. It's like he's teaching his son like basic gun safety.
And
it's so crazy.
And when you try to call that kind of stuff grooming, you obfuscate the fact that there is actual grooming. You obfuscate child rape.
But
there's no two ways about that. Like, it's not, you can't say, "Oh, well, it's grooming this kid because he's showing him how to properly handle a gun, blah, blah," and then be like, that's not distracting from the fact that there is actual child rape going on.
But this is the thing. They don't care.
They don't. They don't. They have no moral basis for any of their perspective. They don't.
There's a meme, and it's Kyle Rittenhouse and Greta Thunberg, and it says, "Their youth are not like our youth." And you know what the funny thing about that meme is? The left and the right both share it in the exact same way, unironically.
It's the only uniting thing. Yeah. The other one is that there was some 15-year-old who like protested a LGBT rally or something, like holding a crucifix, and the police carried him off like he's hands feet, and they put it next to the one of Greta, and they're like, we just want to see what's happening here.
Insane. I mean, just the way that I don't want to beat a dead horse about Rittenhouse, but just the way that Rittenhouse was classified is completely insane. People still talk about Rittenhouse as if he was, he's guilty of aggressive murder. It's ridiculous.
I mean, did you see that story? This is to your earlier point about that gay couple that like they adopted.
Yeah.
And they, so like people were talking about that story, and then the reactions I saw from certain people who supposedly on the right, like this is two people in particular, but like their first reaction their first reaction was to post like, "Oh, look, but here's a photo of a little girl at a Hooters. Like, if you're not as like, how come the people who oppose this never talk about this?" It's like, if that's your first reaction is to pull of whataboutism when a story about a gay couple raping their adoptive kid is,
and again,
that's very sus.
It's rape. And it's like, oh, we're going to get food at Hooters and we're going to compare it with rape.
Well, also,
what are you talking about? It's insane.
I want to mention the Hooters thing too, because it's like we talk about grooming with these people dancing in lewd outfits for children, and it's like, look, man, I don't think you should bring your kids to Hooters because it's kind of lowbrow. Yeah. But there's a big difference between the women there are wearing shirts and shorts. Okay. That like you can see their cleavage, but women wear those things in public all the time. They walk around doing that. That is a social norm that you might be like, well, I don't like my kids around that stuff, but people do it everywhere. I would recommend not bringing your kid to Hooters, but the fact that women have a body shape and wear, I don't even want to call them skimpy outfits necessarily. It's not they're wearing bikinis or anything. They're just wearing shorts and
form-fitting.
Right. Not appropriate for kids, in my opinion. At the same time, very different from a strip show. Very different from having a drag queen strip in front of children or having children strip for them at a gay bar, which they've been doing.
Or what was the one
literally sex clowns. Like drag queens are sex clowns. That's what they are. They're sexualized clowns.
Yeah.
Like they're the whole.
Well, it's burlesque.
It's a good crossover between the two.
It's like LGBT burlesque.
Yeah.
And, Jen Kuger put out this tweet and he was like, if I had the money, I'd put on the biggest drag show. And my first thought was like,
you do have the money saying
yeah,
do it.
he does. It's not that expensive. I mean, you can do it for a couple grand. My attitude is like, dude, I'll put on a big drag show. This would be awesome. We'll go to a local theater. We'll do a big drag show. We'll get some of the best drag queens. We'll invite, everybody. We'll do free food, free drinks. Of course, with the drinks, 21
I will
up only.
dress in drag for that.
21
With
and
a
up and
beard.
only. We have booze because it's for adults. And I have no issue with adults wanting to do entertainment, silly, funny things like this or whatever they want to do. It's the weird thing that they're going after kids. But anyway, my ultimately, to bring it back to we're talking about the classified documents. The point is two clearly different realities. And if you've got people right now that we're at the point where we are actually watching these people have children strip on stage at gay bars. There was a young boy. I'm not going to say his name because his family's litigious. He's ripping his clothes off and dancing around, and they're giving him money. I'm like, that's what stripping is. Okay, yeah. You can call it go-go dancing, you can call it stripping, you can call it bikini bars, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing. Not all strip clubs are fully nude. In a lot of states, it's illegal to be fully nude, so they have to wear bras and panties. Having a little kid prance around in his underwear for money, what do you think you're doing? There are people defending that, and they say, what's wrong with it? I know a guy who's a leftist. I talk to him all the time, and he said, what's wrong with sex education? And I was like, bro. We were talking about Chicago in the Project Veritas expose. I said, giving kids sex toys and lube is not sex ed. That's kink education. Sex education is like, here's the reproductive parts of the body. Here's what they do. Here's why they do it. Here's what you need to know about safety. Going to a kid and being like, here's a variety of toys, whips, cat o' nine tails or whatever. It's
you
like,
can look at sex education like a Chilton's book for like a car, right? Sexual education is how it works. These are the body parts, et cetera, et cetera. Once you start describing sexual acts that sound like you're selling a car, that's different. It's like if you're trying to explain how to use lube and stuff like that, that's trying to create an allure and instruct kids about pleasure and all the adult themes that go along with sex. If you're talking about sexual education, it's like, you can talk about the body parts and talk about the functions and stuff like that. But to talk about, lube and stuff like that, that's kink. Enticing. Yeah, it's enticing. It's kink. Young adults who are just learning about sexuality.
I'm going to make one more point on this before we go on to the next story because I've made so many points about this. But, Nuance, bro, have you read this book?
I'm familiar with the genderqueer book and
Did you
what's
read
in
it?
it. I did not read it, but I am familiar with what's in it. Yeah.
I got close to the end. I haven't read the whole thing so far, but I will just point out a few very important things that people don't understand about this book. The first thing everybody knows about this book is that it was shown to children, and it has inappropriate images of sexual activity among adults. The characters in it are in their 20s, I think, at the time when they're engaging in these activities. They're showing these explicit activities to children, and the author said in an interview it should have been more explicit. The first thing people don't know about it, which many of you may know because you've heard me say it ad nauseum, but I'll say it for those that aren't familiar, is that the intro to the story is this woman talking about her severe psychological trauma and abuse, but it's clear she doesn't understand she was abused by her parents. Made to pee in the yard when she was 3 years old. She couldn't read till she was 12. She would wear dried, old, crusted pads with blood flaking off of it when she went to school, and she smelled so bad she got called into the counselor and told, you need to learn basic hygiene. And my question is, where are her parents? Her parents were abusing her. Mm-hmm. What you discover in the end of the book, she explains that what she's doing is actually her sexual fetish. She is aroused by being perceived as a man. She says it in the book. And then it's like, interesting. So it would seem that the entire thing they're teaching children is they want you to engage in the sexual fantasies of other adults in day-to-day life.
Isn't that called autogynephilia when you're turned on by, or is it that only when it's men?
Autoandrophilia is what she calls it.
All right.
So she's aroused at the thought of herself being a man.
Yep.
And so you have to imagine when this person is going around and saying, call me this, it's like, are you asking us to engage in your sexual fantasy to arouse you?
Well, and it's the same thing to Phil's point if they're giving specific descriptions of like sexual acts as opposed to like, here is how biology works. They are making it so that we are dominated by being compelled to pursue sexual desire at all times, and it begins at extremely young age, and it's all that anyone's
kids.
It's grooming. And I think what's sad about this is like to the story about the couple with the boys and this book, like they are abused, and the fact that we are not willing to be united on the front of like abusing children in any capacity is bad is such a red flag for our society. It's so
Yep.
bizarre to me that regardless of your political belief, you can't be like, yes, I'm 100% against child abuse. That's disturbing.
So where I'll bring these things all together, and then we'll jump to we'll do a hard segue, is just when we're entering this period where you are going to have elements of our own law enforcement existing in either World 1 or World A, because we don't want to put anybody second. You're a World 1 or World A, Futurama joke. Then people are going to say outright, you're going to have a cop saying, like, that's an evil person. There's going to be a cop on the other side saying, no, you're the evil person, because they both see two completely different things. That's where we're going. When we get to the point where, right now it's millennials. Gen Xers are closer together. Baby boomers are very close together in their worldviews. You can even look at the political polling from Pew going back years and where the overlap is between Democrat and Republican. And then as you get into millennial, it starts bifurcating. And then Gen Z completely bifurcated. What happens when Gen Z is in their 50s and every generation below them is Universe 1, Universe A? Well, people are going to be fighting each other physically. There's going to be no agreement. There's going to be no overlap. It's going to be quite literally, you are evil, period. And that's how you get into chaos. But we'll jump into this next story. So we have this from TMZ. Everybody's dying to talk about the Damar Hamlin conspiracy. I woke up hearing all this crazy news about, whatever. And then I saw this Damar Hamlin conspiracy theory and I said, this is the most interesting thing I've read all day. Or it was in the morning. So it was like the most interesting thing I've read the past day. So Damar Hamlin has a heart attack. Okay, no, I'm sorry. He had cardiac arrest. He didn't have a myocardial infarction. On the field, he tackles a guy, takes a hit. They say, what is it, commotio cardis? Is that what they call it?
Commotio cardis.
Commotio cardis. And now they're just saying cardiac arrest. They're not saying commotio cardis for whatever reason. He goes to the hospital. They say, he's going to make it. He's fine. They post a picture of him doing a little heart. They say, there he is in the hospital. Apparently, he returned. Allegedly, he returned. But the problem is, when he returned, he was wearing a mask, glasses, and his hood is over his eyes. And there he is in the window. You can't see anything. He's holding a heart. And they were like, look, he came back. He pulls up in a car wearing sunglasses indoors, a mask, and a hood over his eyes. He keeps his head down, walks into the room, people surrounding him. You can't see his face.
They have him in like the shielded golf cart when he's like supposed
Shielded
to
golf
drive.
cart.
Popemobile.
They bring him into a room where they film him from behind, wearing a hood, waving his arms and cheering. And then the reporter's like, there it is. There he is. And I'm like, bro, I don't know who that is.
Well, and they show
probably know it's Bill Clinton.
They show close-ups of his mom and his brother who are walking on the field, but we never see him, right? Like, it's so sketchy.
Here's the best part about it. TMZ says it's not true. We called them and asked them, and they said it was him. That proves it. I love that logic. It's like, okay.
They wouldn't lie to
They
us.
said
Well,
so.
hold on. I didn't see his face. You can't see his face, right?
Yeah.
I think that's...
Like, that's their best picture to prove that he was there.
I think that was Dave Chappelle.
So what do you think's going on there? Like, if you
I
had
don't
to
know.
bet everything, would you say that was him or wasn't him? If you had to bet everything,
Not him.
interesting.
Yeah.
I think maybe like after he experiences that hit, he goes to the hospital. Like maybe he doesn't look so good. Maybe he doesn't want people to see like him in a disheveled state. I have no idea, but
He could be like pale, sweaty, gaunt, and looking miserable. And so that's a fair point.
yeah, I mean, I don't see any incentive for his family to lie about his attendance there. Like for what?
He's not playing games anymore. He's not in the eye of the public. His Q rating, whatever you want to call it, not that it was like particularly high to begin with, but it exists, right? So this is basically like, what's your level of popularity among the public? He's out. He's injured. He's done. This is end your career. I know skateboarders who are on the verge of turning pro, and they sprain their ankle, knock him out for 3 months, and they get dropped by every company. So here's a guy who is knocked out of the press. No one's talking about him. They're like, we need to get him back out there. And I can certainly imagine an agent coming in and being like, look, man, I know you're hurt, but we got to get you back out there and get some cameras and get some press attention so that you don't lose the news cycle. I said, well, what can we do? We can't leave the hospital. I said, let's just get a guy, put a mask on, sunglasses. We'll do a quick appearance. We'll say it's you. No one will know. You never prove it. That to me makes a lot of sense. What people think is that Damar died and that the vaccine did it. They think he's dead. They think the vaccine did it. And they think they run a body double, which makes no sense.
I don't want that to be true, but man.
If he died from a heart attack, they would just say, guys, he died from a heart attack.
Right.
We all know he had a heart attack. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he's probably not in good shape, and I think I don't think that was him. too weird? Why wouldn't you just show his face at any point, even his eyes?
Because he might look like shit. I don't know.
But he's got a hood on and a mask. You can't show his eyes at all. Like, they did not show this person's
like a
face.
niqab, like Islam style.
Sure, it's better than nothing, right?
I can't.
He shows up in a niqab.
What gets me is like they brought his mom and younger brother, who's like a little kid, out. Like, it is weird. Like, why wouldn't they be with him?
I don't have an opinion on whether it is or is not him, but it is super weird to be like, we can't come up with any clear pictures that actually identify this as the guy we're saying.
Like,
just take our word for it. That's super weird.
Like, they could have just as easily like taken a picture of him in the booth, or like in the whatever that's called, the box. I'm super into sports, as you can tell. In the box, and been like, oh yeah, look, he's here with the head coach or the guy who owns this whatever, and been like,
but
it's
again,
fine.
if he looks like crap, he doesn't want that image out
but
there.
still,
maybe. I don't
then
know.
why show up? Why would they film in the booth from behind of him waving his arms in the air instead of just doing nothing?
And
But
if
if it's what you're saying, like, I do think that's a much higher risk strategy, because if they find out it's some body double or whatever, like, that would just be a disaster.
No. That would be huge. That would be amazing. This conspiracy theory right now is press. So at the very least,
sure, yeah.
at the very least, he might have been thinking like, yeah, I'm going to come back and check out the game and hang out in the box. And they were like, here's what you do. Wear a mask and sunglasses, get everybody going crazy, think it's a conspiracy. That is also a possibility.
I mean, that seems more plausible, I would say, like that one, than like the body double thing.
But it's like, look at this picture of him. His hood is over his eyes. He's not even looking at the field.
Why is he throwing the rock up? Like, is he a Jay-Z fan?
He's doing a heart.
He's just
but
no, I
hold
thought
on.
that was the Freemason
why
sign
is
or whatever.
why is he?
Triangle.
That's a terrible heart.
People posted the picture where it's the
Yeah.
Illuminati. But hold on, why you see his hood is over his eyes? He's not looking at anything. What is going on? He's not even looking at the field. He's like someone told him, "Hey, stand by the window and do a sign. They're gonna take a picture." It's like, okay, I can't see, so I'll do it right here. Is this good?
Mm-hmm.
That makes no sense. What's he?
No, it's just an angle thing. He's like looking down like this. It's over.
Oh, come on, dude. His eyes are
That's how it
completely
works.
covered with the hood. You can see it's
Nah,
like,
it's not him.
There's no way that this is guy.
I'm gonna say
I
it's
mean,
him.
why would-
I'm gonna say it's him.
taking the safe route.
fair.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why they can't.
Okay, hold
why
on.
they
If
wouldn't
you're-
come up with a decent
Wait,
picture.
hold
Okay,
on.
and also if
We're at a casino, and you walk up to the DeMar Hamlin is it him table, and there's it is and it isn't. You're putting your chips on the it's him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
'Cause
That's why I asked you the question.
But here's
Yeah.
you know why I wouldn't, because there's no proof to suggest it is. There's no evidence.
his family saying it is.
his family never said it was.
sorry,
They just walked on the field.
I'm a journalist.
He said they contacted the family.
I made a
They
phone call.
contacted-
It's Bill Clinton. His family said it. You heard his family actually come out and say it happened? Because all I know is that TMZ said we made a phone call and they confirmed it was him.
And who's that?
I'm like,
I shouldn't say that, but like, oh, sorry.
Wrong place.
I assumed from that press release
Who
that
is
they
they, though?
contacted the Bills or whatever team he plays for. You know, then they were like, yes, indeed, we brought him back. Like, they didn't say we talked to his mom. They didn't say we talked to his uncle. Like, they didn't say anything. They just said, yes, someone has confirmed it was him. Like, this is so weirdly non-specific. If it was specific, and to your point, like, if he felt awful, if he didn't look good, like, why not just be like, yeah, he's not back yet, but he's watching the game from home. He's having a good time. Like,
yeah, why?
why bring him out there if he is in a position where he looks so terrible, he doesn't want to be seen? Like, you must mean that he also feels awful, and we're gonna drag him to a football stadium? Like, that seems cruel or desperate.
Or maybe he wanted to be there. I don't know. Maybe
Here,
he
look.
wanted-
Watch,
so
watch
much
this
that he
video.
doesn't want anyone to know.
Watch this video.
Looks like DeMar Hamlin is
See, that guy has sunglasses on.
All right, look, watch.
Yes, if they show him in the stadium in any capacity, it will blow the doors off of this place. DeMar Hamlin just showed up, and it looks like his mom and his little brother is there. Oh, we love to see it. Stay tuned. It's the Bengals.
So
Bills.
we saw no one. We saw nothing.
Coming up on CBS.
Also, he says it. If they show him in any capacity.
Here, look,
That
watch,
was like
watch.
foreshadowing.
No
Okay.
way.
Boxer coming
Dude,
out for a
come
fight?
on.
What's happening?
He's wearing sunglasses. His head is down. He's got a hood and a mask on. Why? And then he just goes, no stopping, no looking, no waving, nothing. Just zip, zip, zip. There's more.
I gotta like.
Wait. There's more.
Story is
There's more.
Facility this week, Sean McDermott telling us it was so good to have him around. He told us it's baby steps right now.
Plus it's
all
snowing.
Such a good
completely up
shot.
to Hamlin how involved he wants to be every day. A spokesperson close to the family said despite being out of the hospital, he still has a lengthy recovery. He requires oxygen and he has his heart rate monitored regularly, but he is upbeat. He's positive.
Yeah, if he requires oxygen,
There's nothing in the room.
Look.
Do you see oxygen there? I don't.
Right here. What a scene. Oh.
I mean,
Why are they filming this? Why did they film him from behind in the room waving his arms like this? You can't see his face.
that's
Look at this. Come on. This is an SNL skit.
What
Where-
the?
it is.
Wait
Also,
a minute.
requires-
It's hilarious. Come on.
I haven't seen any of this, by the way. I'm just going based off what you guys are
Look,
telling
You're
me.
like, my odds have suddenly shifted.
I mean, when he's doing the arm thing, now I'm like, wait, if he was in truly bad shape,
Would he be able to do that?
wouldn't he be winded? Like,
Yeah,
from,
right.
Also,
Why don't you pull your hood back, for God's sake?
well, they also just said he requires oxygen. I don't see oxygen.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
somebody
Yeah.
explain to me
maybe
what's
it's
going on.
maybe it's like through the clothing.
He has a backpack we can't see that's
Maybe,
carrying the
I don't know.
tank.
Look at his hood over his eyes. He's not looking at anything.
I love
No.
this story.
He might as well be wearing a
This is-
Balenciaga.
yeah, this is
gift
very
mask. You can't even
bizarre.
see
It's
anything.
just weird.
Here you can see
It's
his
actually
hood's
Kanye
back.
West.
But like,
It's Kanye West.
why film this video this way? Like, they film it from the side, from behind.
Also, that little kid is not his brother, unless he's a kid I don't know about, which is totally possible. Like, he's in there alone without the people we brought out as his mom and brother.
Yeah.
Somebody explain to me what's going on.
I don't know
It's
what the point
weird.
is.
That's the one they
It's all
sacrifice an
weird.
effigy to Moloch or something.
So this tweet, this guy said, "My thought is that he's no longer with us." I don't know about that because that didn't make sense either. It would make no sense to have him come out if he wasn't around. Like if he died in the hospital, they'd just be like, he died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually would make more sense. They would say it was commotio cardis. He took a hit to the heart. We tried to save him. We couldn't.
And
If, having him come out and say he's on oxygen and all this stuff is actually like more suspect.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's dead.
I don't
I'm
think
just
that.
like-
I think he's really sick, and that's sad. And we shouldn't like use a fake person as a puppet to advance the narrative of what the Bengals like.
I don't have any proof that that's not him. There's no part of me that would be in any way surprised if I found out that that was definitely not him. Like
Yeah.
there is
This guy is so sick he requires oxygen. His mom isn't even sitting with him in this shot.
They-
Like, are you
Yeah.
what?
They put no effort into actually making
Yo.
him seem like
Also,
he's.
We're in a
Notably-
simulation, man. Everything's fake.
He's also wearing bright red. He is the only person. They're like, please notice exactly who's walking through the crowd right now. Like, it's
Think about this.
staged.
Think about this.
Wouldn't wear your Bulls.
The
color-
journalists
or,
have
you know,
provided no evidence
Bills colors.
that he was actually there, other than that's what they claim. And I'm like, okay, well, for me, that's fine. You can claim whatever you want, but I don't believe it outright. Like, you know, I need something more than just be like, he was there. Trust me. See, here's a picture of a guy in a jacket. I'm like, I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah.
That could be Bill Clinton for all I know. Probably not Bill Clinton because he won't be waving his arms around like that. He's an old man. But that could be anybody. So if they came and said, no, we got a photo, even if they did that, even if they're like, here's a photo of him smiling with fans, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, you know, they didn't film it, but I'll take him at
That's
their
what
word
I
for the photo.
exactly. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if he was in the box with the owner of the team, right?
Oh, and the wife and the kids. Someone super chatted. The wife and the kid weren't even with him when the brother or the mom walked in. I'm sorry, not the wife and the kid. The brother and the mom. They're not with him. They're walking in a
That's
different
what I
way.
just said. Like,
oh yeah.
Also, your son is so sick he requires oxygen. We're bringing him to a game, and like, I don't know who that little kid is, but it's definitely not his brother. Like,
Here's
doesn't
the
make
thing to
any
consider.
sense.
Consider this for the media. The media can come out and say, and they will, Damar Hamlin showed up. He was there. Regular people will hear that and be like, "Oh, did you hear he's out of the hospital? He was there." And then you'll be like, "Bro, did you watch the video?" No. Yeah, that didn't look like him. I don't know. The media said that it was him, so it was.
Does
That-
it twin we don't know about? Maybe
That point is
If it was a twin, they would not have covered his face.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Maybe he doesn't look enough like him.
He has like a scar from like a.
They're fraternal
fight.
twins. Like they're both boys, but they don't look like at all.
They're not the same size, right?
It's a guy whose name is Damar Hamlin, but it's a totally different guy. So it's like technically,
yeah.
we were not lying to you. That is Damar Hamlin, just not the football player. He's a dentist from Dubuque.
Did you see that? There's another super chat in there that said that he posted. Tim, look at his Twitter. He posted clone. Did you see that?
He did posted clone.
He posted the word clone.
Apparently, I can't fact check it, so someone should look it up real quickly. But
What?
if he posted that, that makes it even weirder.
I really hope that's true.
Yeah, that'd be wild.
Your
would be.
voice sounds like a car idling to me sometimes. It's so low.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah. Oh
Yo,
my
hey,
God.
come on, man.
What?
What?
Wait,
What?
what is this? Is that supposed to be? Is that
That's
him?
him.
So there's a painting of him some dude whose face you can't see, and it says clone.
Yeah, what's with this? Oh, there's so much obfuscation of his face. Like,
Yeah,
why?
so he's probably making fun of the idea, being like, people think it's like a clone of me or something.
But he's
Or
still-
he's admitting
he's
that it
still-
was not him.
No, I think he's making fun of the idea. Like, this is a picture, I guess, that he
I guess, but why
posted.
can-
Where is his oxygen?
Yeah. Why continue to obfuscate your face like that though? Too. Like,
I mean, he's generating press for himself.
I mean, why did you
Yeah.
do that, you know?
yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
Good
So-
point. Yeah.
He's generating press for himself. The fact that we're talking about it
Yeah.
on like a mostly overtly
Yeah.
political show. You
I
know?
mean, it's a fun thought process. I think this is weird, but
All right, so I don't know what he looks like, but the picture, if you zoom in, you could, and you knew what he looked like, you would be able to identify him. Right? I don't know what he looks like, but if you zoom in on that and you knew, like, you were familiar with what he looked like, you could be like, yes, that is him. No, that's not. Like, if that was someone that I knew, like, if that was like James Hetfield's face or like, you know, whatever, Michael Jordan's face or whatever, I could probably be like, all right, I'm familiar with the shape of the eyes and the nose. You could,
if
you know.
you are alive and well, why is this
Enhance.
the photo you post at your job?
Enhanced.
I mean, I don't know that I can answer questions like that. I'm just saying that even though that isn't the most
I'm willing to be wrong on this front. I just don't think I am. You know?
fair, fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of feels like this painting or whatever on the brick is like in memoriam. You know what I mean? Like when they
nice.
do those paintings and they put it
We
up.
can't
like-
even see his tattoos. That's the other thing. Where are these identifying markers?
I mean, it's winter. You
Sure,
know, it's
but-
snowing.
But still,
Buffalo.
It was actually pretty intense in Buffalo, but I just don't understand sunglasses in a snowstorm indoors.
Yeah, I know. That's
It's just like, I don't know. Man.
unless his eyes are really
midday.
bloodshot, to your point, like maybe
While it's
it's
snowing.
really rough. But then,
What if-
why is your family making you come to this press appearance?
Look, man.
And not with you? I don't know.
We'll talk about it a bit more in the super chats. I guess we'll figure it out and we'll talk about more. But we'll just talk about some other stuff for now. Let's jump to this story. This is I just want to talk about it. It's like not the most important or political thing, but apparently right before the show, we saw this tweet from Rick and Morty. Adult Swim retweeted. They said, Adult Swim has ended its association with Justin Roiland. Rick and Morty will continue. The talented and dedicated crew are hard at work on season 7. Now, I know a lot of you probably don't care about Rick and Morty or whatever. It's a show, you might like it or not. But apparently they're canceling the guy who does the voices of the two main characters on the show, but keeping the show because he got accused of domestic abuse. Is that what it is?
yeah, domestic abuse and then
So
false imprisonment.
Yeah, what? Tell me what happened. What is this story?
I don't know everything exactly, but apparently he had like a domestic abuse, domestic disturbance, I think they call it, and then he was, I think his girlfriend at the time or girl that was involved in the situation called the police, and he was like keeping her inside of a bathroom, and then he got charged with both domestic abuse, and he also got charged with, I think false imprisonment.
This
I don't remember
article
exactly.
says 1 felony count of domestic battery with corporal injury and 1 felony count of false imprisonment by menace, violence, fraud, and/or deceit.
Noticeably.
Well, these are charges. These aren't even.
And
These aren't even.
this happened in January 19th, 2020.
right.
So this is the important thing. There's a couple reasons why I think this is interesting. One, how do you cancel the voice of the guy but keep the show? But this is a guy who's being charged. He has not been convicted. How do you handle something like that?
And this
right?
happened in 2020. you said?
2 years ago.
Three-
yeah.
3 years ago?
Yeah.
3 years ago.
January.
Did
yeah.
he just get charged? He just recently got charged, and this is
Yeah, it
Really?
looks like
No
the
idea.
criminal complaint started reaching the media last week. So I don't know if that means that the woman who's unidentified, she's being identified as Jane Doe, came forward later and they've just been compiling it, or what?
He resigned from his game, Squanch Games.
Yeah, he did.
When?
Like
January 16th.
Right there.
So he knew this was coming. So obviously this has been under investigation for a little bit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This is how it usually always goes, though, right? With you usually don't wait until conviction to remove someone from their position. Like, police departments put people on leave when they're investigating.
Yep.
I remember like with Chris Hardwick during like the Me Too stuff.
That was wrong, though.
Yeah, I agree, but at the same time, like that's usually how it goes. Is they don't wait until like a conviction or anything like that.
That's kind of what I'm thinking about this story. I mean, aside from the fact that it's very weird, they're going to be like, what are they going to do? Replace the voices, and you're going to get like a weird Rick and Morty that don't sound the same, and it's going to be a weird show. Like he does the jokes, he's what makes it funny. But yeah, we went through this with Me Too when it was Hardwick. He was falsely accused. They took him off his show, and then finally they're like, "Oops." Then you had Aziz Ansari, who was accused of having a bad date.
Yeah.
That was she was
Yeah.
like, "I had a bad date," and then everyone was trying to cancel this guy. And it's like now Justin Roiland. Look, maybe he did it. If he did, then he should get
Yeah, I feel like it's going to
the
be hard
penalty or
until they release some more information. So they're saying like body cams from the police, all the details are being withheld from the public. pending a protective order. There's a protective order in place against for the victim, so he's not allowed to come within 100 feet of this person through October 2023. So it seems like there's obviously been some steps taken in between, but you're totally right. Like, it's hard to know what exactly is happening, and of course anyone is presumed innocent.
The complaint alleges that he did willfully and unlawfully inflict corporal injury, resulting in a traumatic condition upon a Jane Doe who was in a dating relationship. They said that he did unlawfully violate the personal liberty of Jane Doe by violence, menace, fraud, and deceit. Yeah, what does that mean? He pleaded not guilty in 2020. So he was charged a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yo, this is crazy.
About it.
He was released in August of 2020. In a statement, they said it's hard to overstate how inaccurate the recent media coverage in the situation has been. To be clear, not only is Justin innocent, but we also have every expectation that this matter is on course to be dismissed once the DA's office has completed its methodical review of the evidence. We look forward to clearing Justin's name and helping him move forward as swiftly as possible. So what do you think? False accusation?
Well, I mean, if they're looking for him to be exonerated, that's what they said, right? They expect
Dismissal.
to be dismissed. Well, I mean,
It's a bold statement.
Yeah,
Hey.
dismissal's like just it's
Not a real
Yeah.
claim.
and he's already lost his job because of it.
Wow, man.
You
I
know?
mean, okay, there are some.
One of the most popular shows that Adult Swim's produced in the past at least 10 years.
One of the most popular shows, IMDb top 100 or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it
Of
that
all
big?
time.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, the show's over. They're not going to get someone that's going to be. He's the brains behind it. They're not going to be able to. I mean, that's like trying to do South Park without Trey.
Just Matt Stone and Trey.
Yeah.
I mean, or does it just we have a couple missed seasons and then eventually they bring it back with sort of a semi-changed title. There are some states where you can be charged with kidnapping. Like if Serge is right, he locked his girlfriend in the bathroom and was like, you're not allowed to leave. They're having some obviously bad argument, right? Some states will say you're violating her I forgot which one it is, but it's one of her constitutional rights, like her right to free movement. You're restricting her. So it may not be he's a crazy psycho, but this obviously could have been a very bad domestic situation. And that, to me, would come to, if it goes to court, if it goes to trial, if he gets exonerated, there's a chance that Adult Swim could hold back for a couple years and then be like, okay, we'll release a movie. Right. We'll build back up.
We can't function as a society if someone can accuse you of something and then before anything's been proven, they just say okay, you're removed from your job and we're destroying this portion of the economy.
That was what.
And I don't mean the entirety of the global economy. I'm saying this element of economic activity. Everyone's job at Rick and Morty. It's not just one guy.
Yeah.
Everybody loses their job now because of the accusation. Now again, if it's a legitimate accusation, then so be it. Dude gets locked up. But the fact that it's not proven yet, he's denying it. They're saying outright it will be dismissed. Well, okay, that needs to be adjudicated. We need to go through that with that evidence, a jury or whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact that they would be nope, the punishment has been handed down.
Yeah,
it's reminiscent of the Me Too BS.
So that was the problem with Me Too was that we mentioned Aziz Ansari. That was kind of the last time that I heard a lot of noise about it because people realized that a lot of the people that had stuff that was legitimate that were actually going to come forward had come forward. All the people that were inspired by Me Too, if they had the courage to come forward, they did it in the beginning. If they were legitimately assaulted or whatever, and they didn't come out in the beginning, it wasn't likely they were going to come out after 6 months or whatever. And so the people that were coming out in the later days of Me Too tended to be the people that were complaining about Aziz Ansari who had a bad date, and there was other people. But that
was a funny story.
It was hilarious.
It's a bad date.
No, my favorite response to that was someone being where are that girl's friends? Being why are you putting yourself in this scenario? You don't have to do this. It was such a weird story all around, and I think it took Me Too is so complicated, and of course people who are truly
Me Too is complicated. The Aziz Ansari story is not complicated.
And the fact that someone would be I am also a part of, potentially people who are really abused.
Yeah.
That tells you how delusional this can get. People want to be recognized as victims and think they have something to gain. In this case, I totally agree with Tim. It's crazy that there is a whole studio of people who are basically out of a job because of this. And I feel the only way for anyone to know is for it to go to trial, which those articles last forever. So
I don't think that it doesn't matter if it goes to trial. I think that the people that have already decided that he's guilty, they're always going to believe that he's guilty.
Exactly right. It's all going to hang on. So, but from my position is if he gets, Like, I was on Pop Culture once and we were talking about Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's been convicted of rape. And someone was like, I can't believe you'd say that. You're like, no, it's legitimate. That's proven fact. And I know the justice system is not something we can always trust, right, in this country. But theoretically, like, even if the press never goes away, that's actually this person's best shot. Like, at least he would be able to point to something. Right now, it's just rumor.
Your point about the justice system is true. It's imperfect, but we, as a society, we have to act like we have faith in it, or else that's going to have significant. It's significantly worse to believe that your justice system can't be trusted, and that's probably the attitude of a lot more people than is healthy for society right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ever see Mike Tyson's comments about that case, by the way?
Real quick, where did you hear the bathroom thing? 'Cause I can't find that anywhere.
I don't know. This is an initial report. This is maybe like about a week ago when everyone was first hearing about the story. Because again, it's been like since 2020, and it's only really broke as of like maybe a week ago. I heard. I think it was like. I don't even remember who was watching, but
sorry, man. What you were saying?
Oh no, I was just saying Mike Tyson's comments about like the rape case or whatever. Whenever it's brought up, he gets really pissed, and he's like, "No, he didn't rape her, but he said he should have." It's kind
but he got convicted, right?
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
that's what. It's probably what his thought process is saying. That awful line. Yeah. I didn't, but I should.
Also, like,
you can't get away with that, Mike.
He's
Mike Tyson.
Hold on. He's like, how old is he now?
68.
He's probably just like, dude, I'm done.
Nobody's going to do anything.
He did an episode of Law & Order SVU. Like, he's clearly bounced back from this conviction.
Yeah, yeah. And he'll punch you in the face and knock your head right off your body if you go too far.
Well, don't bring him on the show and I'll be okay.
He has that quote where he says that not enough people are getting hit or whatever, something like that. Yeah. It's like, well, I understand the point he's saying. Like, it's kind of good people aren't beating each other up. But his point is that actually Taylor Swift has the quote. Say it in on the street, it's a knockout. Say it in a tweet, it's a cop out. She said it better than Mike Tyson, if you ask me.
She has a way with words.
That's gangster.
Yeah, wow. And then she throws her phone in the video. But she makes a point, like they'll go online, people will say these awful things. They won't say it in real life because they'll be scared about what the consequences will be. Mm-hmm. Freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences.
True.
That's right.
True.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to be like a resurgence of Me Too or anything.
No, I don't know.
The whole believe all women thing, I don't know where that's at.
I wonder if they're going to have recordings of him already, and that's what I mean by they're finishing season 7 and they're going to release it.
Oh, they're going to use an AI to make his voice.
That's the other thing. How bad is that going to be?
Remember, you guys remember
can
the
they
Joe
just
Rogan
cut the
thing
audio from previous? There's been like a bunch of seasons of the show, right?
They wouldn't do that, but you remember the Joe Rogan voice?
Yep.
Oh,
AI?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They had a AI analyze Joe Rogan's voice, and they made a thing where you can type in words and it would say it as Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. They'll do that with him.
I hate technology. That's so creepy.
Yeah. You're going to be watching, you're going to be like, this is a robot
They'll
voice?
do it, but
You're
the
gonna
jokes
get a
won't
call.
have the jokes won't have the oomph.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he does the voices, and then does he write the show too, or
Yeah.
Presumably, right?
I believe so.
So
yeah.
he's like the spine of
He's
this
the guy.
entire thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the show.
He's Seth MacFarlane, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, after this, like, if he does get proven innocent, does he start a new show?
Oh, he's done.
He's done forever.
Look, man, people like
Who's gonna touch him?
People like Justin Roiland, he tweeted some anti-woke thing a while ago, and then he deleted it. I can't remember exactly what it was. But this is the point I want to make to everybody. They come for you. Look, maybe he's guilty. That's fine. If he's guilty, then so be it. If he's not guilty, when this all ends and the courts say, okay, case dismissed, you ain't getting your job back.
Oh, wow.
They're not going to let you back in those doors. You're done. You should have spoken out and set your foundation before it was too late. Now, look, I don't blame the guy who seems mostly apolitical for not realizing the culture was, getting to this point. Mm-hmm. But I'll say it to everybody else, because I hear it from people all too often. Look, I'm just going to keep my head down, and then hopefully, nobody will come and give me grief. It's like, oh, come on, dude. Here's what happens. You got a row of houses, and they're going door to door. And you think if you turn your lights off, they ignore your house. Bro, they're going door to door. It's going to come to you. No matter what, you can speak up now and link arms figuratively with all the people who agree and tell these people to shut up, or you can turn your lights off, and then wait until they come to your house, smash your windows, and then burn everything down.
Yeah.
Yep. There is no way to be like, oh, I'm just not going to get involved when it comes to the culture war. if someone makes an accusation, you're in, whether you like it or not. Someone says something about you, you're in the culture war. Someone that on one side of the culture war decides they don't like something you did, they make an accusation, you're in it. You don't get to opt out. There is no more, I just stay out of politics. That doesn't happen with a culture war.
Let's talk about politics. We have this story from Timcast. Vermont Supreme Court supports allowing illegal non-residents to vote. The court ruled the state's constitution does not require voters to be citizen to take part in local elections. By Hannah Claire Bermerloh.
Wow.
So what's going on?
Told you I was a writer for
Hey, she's a
Timcast.com.
writer. What's the story? You tell me.
So in 2018, Montpelier and another town whose name I can't actually pronounce, Winnescu, I think it's pronounced, they passed ordinances saying anyone can vote in our municipal elections, so local elections. They can't vote at the state level, they can't vote at federal. But it means that you don't need to legally be a resident of Vermont, you don't need to legally be an American citizen to take part in these local elections. And they said, it's good, it encourages people to participate. If you're being represented by these local governments, you should get to vote. And it was in 2020, the state legislature approved they had to change their municipal charters to approve this, and it was sued. The RNC sued in April of 2021 and said this is crazy. Like, voters shouldn't just be able to come from anywhere, and it's a degradation to the integrity of elections. And it went through a couple different rulings, but basically the Supreme Court has upheld a ruling by a lower court saying the Vermont Constitution does say that you have to be an American citizen to vote in state elections, but does not place that requirement on municipal elections. So this makes these two cities in Vermont, there's a bunch in Maryland and New York City, examples of places where you don't have to be an American citizen to participate in local elections.
So I'm not a signatory on Phil's bank accounts, but I have the right to vote where that money goes. So I'm going to vote it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it also
Crap.
says non-residents. So it's not just illegals, but non-residents.
People
so
don't even live there?
No, so I mean, like, you could be from a different state and hop in there for a day and vote. Is that
that
what
what
they're
it is?
saying? Like,
They have not defined, I couldn't find any examples of how clearly they've defined what their residency policy is. Like, do you have an address? If I have a house out of state, but I have like a vacation house there, I can vote in their local election.
so imagine.
There's no question.
So what's the population of the smallest town in Vermont that's allowing this?
They're similar sizes. So they're considered, one of the outlets I was reading about this say they're the most diverse cities in Vermont. One
course
has
they are.
8,000 people, one has 7,000.
So imagine if
just
they have
over.
they have an election and then like 14,000 people show up
Yeah.
in a population of 7,000.
Yeah.
Yep.
That, I guess that's technically possible now. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
They have opened the doors to just not requiring anything. I mean, this is similar to the states that don't want to require ID laws.
Is
for
that still?
voting.
Does that mean it's still a felony if you vote in two places?
I guess.
It doesn't. In these towns, it doesn't seem like they care. I could not find any specific you can't. Be over here. You can whatever. It would be a felony if I am a person, a non-American citizen. I guess I live in this town. I decide to vote in the local election. If I then fill out the ballots for state or federal, it would be illegal, right? And so this is one of the objections that the RNC has raised. They're saying similar arguments came up when New York decided to pass this. They're saying how do you prevent voter fraud? Because we're going to have to print special ballots for people who only are voting in the local election, and that's difficult and it's more complicated. Now we have these other ballots and we have some ballot. If I give you a ballot, you're like, hey, I live here and I want to vote, and they're like, cool, just only fill out the local spot, and you don't understand, you check everything. Is that your fault?
This
Right
sounds
to
like
jail.
a terrible idea.
Right to jail, I
Right
guess.
to jail.
Right to jail.
Right to jail.
It sounds like an awful idea. I mean,
But representation. These people are
The joke I was making about your bank account is that if you allow non-citizens to vote, they will vote in the interests of the non-citizens, not the citizens. So if you live in a small town that has a gold mine in the center of it that is used to fund the medical care, people are going to be like, oh, I can vote here. I vote. I get the gold. I want to order pizza. They will. Why wouldn't they?
Well, not even non-citizens. I mean, if this is true, non-residents. I mean, to be fair, this is kind of how elections used to work. Like in 1876, what was the South Carolina, when it was going for Hayes or whatever, they had 101% turnout for eligible voters or whatever, and then in the counties along the border with Georgia, it was 20 2,600%. Like,
Yeah, that's
it was like it was crazy.
Look, if it's like 101, I go, well, look, like then you've got an issue of check the voter rolls. How does this make sense? 2,600 is outright like despot nonsense levels of funhouse world garbage.
Funhouse world non-garbage.
Yeah, at that point, it's just like, okay, we're in Banana Republic territory at 2,600%.
Yeah.
Right.
There are some states that like specifically say no matter what, you have to be an American citizen to vote here. So like Ohio's one of them.
I feel like it should not be.
You shouldn't have to say it.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a controversial take to say the people that vote in the states should be residents of those states. They should be citizens of those states. They should be citizens of the United States of America.
Just wait. The next big thing will be nativist. They'll say you're a nativist. They already say it.
Well, yeah, there's already a lot of people that have demonized the term nationalist because of the association with National Socialist or whatever. If you are a nationalist, they associate you with fascist because fascism is always a nationalist kind of ideology.
They're gonna shift from white supremacist, bigot, or whatever to nativist at some point, and they're gonna be like, it's going to be 10, 20 years, and there's going to be a Supreme Court battle, and they're going to be like, these nativist bigots think that only people who live in some location can vote on the rules, and that makes no sense. Well, everyone gets to say we're all equal.
They're going to win people over by saying, like, if you live here and you're a green card holder, right? Like, I may not be super familiar with this, but, like, if you're not allowed to vote, but you do live in the country, right? You do have some sort of legal status here. Mm-hmm. Shouldn't you be able to participate in local elections, right? But then if they also don't require you to show any proof of residency or legal status, then there's no way to say who is actually partaking in these elections. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you don't really know what's influencing these cities and countries. I mean, Vermont is a beautiful place. Obviously, it's not the population of New York City. New York City, this becomes an even bigger issue. But to me, this feels like common sense, like you're saying, like American citizens should vote, but we know that the idea that you have to show ID when you go to vote is actually a controversial issue in a lot of places. They feel like you shouldn't have to.
I want to push back on that. It's not actually controversial. It is only controversial if you listen to politicians from the Democrats. The average American citizen does not believe that you should be allowed to vote if you're not a citizen of the state.
Sure, but they elect politicians who are okay with the policies.
Well,
so you're complicit in supporting it.
I have other issues with voting as well as this one, but the idea that it is popular in the United States, I don't think that's popular.
Did you confirm this non-resident part? You sure it's just not like non-citizen?
I went through the charter and I can't find like any indication
like,
that
they have to register and be on the voter rolls, right? Like, so you can't just like show up election day and be like, oh, I live in this neighboring county or something.
I mean, when I read it, last time I checked the actual charter change, they weren't requiring proof of ID, right? So like they are saying like you come, you vote, that's cool. They might have updated it in it initially passed in 2018, right? Mm. So they might have updated it since, but there is no discussion of proving residency in the Supreme Court case or in the original charter
So it's
change.
like resident honor system. Like you're supposed to be a resident, but we don't actually know if you are.
Yeah.
So you could argue if that's the case, they are technically allowing non-residents, although I think it'd be important we fact check that one.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there is no check, but I'm happy to fact check it.
Yeah, because like what are they actually saying? If there's no check, it may as well be anyone can vote if they feel like it.
They're saying that for locals elections, it doesn't matter, that the Vermont Constitution does not have a say over local elections. Vermont can regulate who gets to vote in state elections, and of course the federal government regulates who can vote in federal elections, but they're saying that the Vermont government doesn't have a say over who the municipalities are okay with voting.
No, it just sounds like the end of the country, We see it in San Francisco and New York. They've had the big move to allow non-citizens to vote. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, then what do you mean?
It doesn't, I don't understand why your average resident or citizen of the states are okay with it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I feel like mostly it's they don't realize. I really think most people don't pay very close attention to politics. Even the people that go and vote regularly don't pay nearly the attention to politics that people like us do. And so for the most part, they don't know what laws are being passed in their local areas.
Yeah, and they always start with the safest thing too. I think they started initially with school boards. So they're like, well, if your kids, maybe they were born here, they're American citizens, they're going to school, and you might be an illegal parent. Like, you should be able to have a say in your kid's education. Like, they kind of like pull at your heartstrings that way, and then they expand it from there. And
incrementalism.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
And then eventually, there's no country left.
Yeah, it's 100%. That there's no part of me that doesn't believe that there are people motivated to change the fundamental structure of the United States. And the people that say, oh, no, there are no people that want to change the structure of the U.S., they're just not listening to the writers at Vox. The writers at Vox, there's Ian Millhauser wants to get rid of the whole Senate, right? There's no reason to have a Senate because something, right? Because there's popular election of the states. There's consistently talk from people on the left about expanding the Supreme Court. There's talk about getting rid of the Electoral College. These people do not like the structure of the government. They don't like a limited government. They don't like a government that puts the individual as sovereign. These are things that libertarians are constantly screaming about. Luke would be here, putting his hand up right along with me. These people want the federal government to have all the authority, and it's likely that they're in bed with international interests.
It's been a move for a really long time to strip away the local power.
Yeah.
The 17th Amendment, I think, was a huge mistake. I remember reading about this. I think it was Ben Sass who called for repealing it. This is the amendment that gave the right to elect a senator to the popular vote in the state. Mm-hmm. All that does is erode local elections and local involvement, and that was the most destructive thing to this. One of the most destructive things to this country, because it used to be you voted in your local elections, you knew who your state reps were. They would then go. The state senators, I believe, would appoint a senator to go to the federal government. The idea was senators represent states, members of Congress represent the people.
Yep.
And there was a reason for the distinction. With the popular vote, now it's just do the same thing, and people don't even know who their local reps are, and they're like, I have no idea. What that did was made it impossible or extremely difficult to have a convention of states and actually work on the Constitution, amend it for the better or for worse. Because now people don't even know. I don't know. Who's your vote? Who's your local rep? Who's your state rep? Do you have any idea?
And one of the things that I find incredibly frustrating is, to your point, people don't know. And people are completely unaware of who represents them. They have no idea who their congressperson is. They have no idea who their senator is. They don't know who the senior senator is or the junior senator is, but these people feel extremely motivated every 4 years to go and vote. They don't know who they're voting for. They don't know why they're voting. They don't know the policies of the people that they're voting for. But every time some celebrity gets on TV and tells them, go vote, we got to get out there and vote for what? I have no idea. They're completely ignorant.
I just read a story today about how Seattle's running out of space for all the dead bodies from fentanyl.
That's gross.
And then I just got mad, and I'm like, why is it that all of the major cities are run by Democrats and are collapsing, are crime-ridden? There was a report, I think, in the Washington Post, per capita crime, top 10 cities, all Democrat. Despite the fact that there was a couple Republican-run cities that were in the top population, didn't have crime, or the crime was substantially lower. Mm-hmm. Why is it? Is it because Republicans are fascists who go around arresting everybody? Is it because Democrats are extremists who release all the prisoners? What's
there may be some other correlating factors there, I think.
Like what?
Like what?
I mean, for example, of the top cities that you're mentioning, I think most of them have very heavy black populations, don't they? Like New Orleans, St. Louis, Detroit. No.
All the major cities?
Well, of the ones that have no, not exactly. I'm trying to think. If San Diego does does San Diego have a super heavy black population?
I bet it's comparable.
How high is Phoenix, Arizona?
Let me look up. San Diego is. It's around 10%. Oh, it's not. Was it 5%?
What's the correlation?
What do you mean?
You're saying these cities have.
So I mean, it's not totally linear, but again, these cities do have like the demographic that commits the highest amount of murders is like young black males. If you have a lot of that, that's probably going to be that's a factor. I mean, does it correlate more than having a Democrat mayor? Probably, I would say so, because there's cities with Democrat mayors that don't have exorbitantly high.
San Diego's black population 6.6%. I don't think that aligns properly.
No, that's my point. It's low.
I mean, it's like half of the national average, but I don't think.
Is it one of the top like homicide cities?
San Diego actually has lower crime, and for a while it was run by a Republican.
Well, what about now? Is it Democrat
So
city,
I mean, perhaps the argument is Democrats typically dominate in the black vote, and then Democrats have garbage policies which result in crime and releasing prisoners and things like that.
You can like I heard you talking about this earlier, Tim. The fact that Rudy Giuliani went into New York City and cleaned it up, like that shows that
right.
No matter what the racial population in your city is, because New York is it's as mixed as it gets, and if you can go and have the right policies and take New York City from Skid Row to turning it into what is essentially Disney World now, or up until 5 years ago. It's policies can solve problems.
Oh, policy absolutely matters, and that's why I said it wasn't linear. I just said there's other factors that probably correlate more. I mean, for example, New York City I believe it has more black people than like Chicago does, but Chicago's like way worse, obviously.
Right. That's why I don't know if it's the racial component that aligns with the crime.
No, I'm not saying that's the causal factor. I said it probably correlates more than having a Democrat mayor.
I disagree about that.
Yeah, it feels too surface level to me, right? If New York has more black people but substantially less gun violence than Chicago, I don't see why you would draw a correlation between the racial makeup of a city and be like, oh, San Diego's got a lower black population, that explains the crime rate. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
No, I'm saying
because New York has a higher black population.
It's about does it correlate more or less than having a Democrat mayor?
Yeah.
So when we covered this story, San Diego had a Republican mayor and crime was lower.
Okay.
New York has a lower black population than Chicago and lower crime than Chicago. So it's like, I don't see the racial connection. I understand the point at the surface level, I guess, if you were just to look at it and be like, oh, hey, look at these things.
I mean, so what are the states, for example, in the United States that have like the lowest homicide rates?
Lowest?
Yeah.
I don't know.
New Hampshire, Vermont, very, very low.
Idaho. Like, I mean, these
Idaho, there's nobody in Idaho,
rural states with very few people.
Yeah,
and there actually is a lot of violent crime in, say, West Virginia, where people like to say, like one thing they bring up is, these Democrat-run cities are really bad, and it's like, it is true. Like when you actually, like we covered this story a couple years ago, when you look at the top crime per capita, there's a correlation between cities run by Democrats with higher crime than cities run by Republicans, but red states in general do have very high rates of violent crime too.
Sure. I mean, you can always parse the statistics out in various ways. For example, the gun control organizations, they'll always take, they'll use gun deaths instead of gun homicides, and then that way they get the statistics that they
including
want to
suicide.
say, like, well, look, all the Republican states actually have higher rates of gun death than the Democrat states do. And then they look at states, they don't look at municipalities and how those are run. So, you can cherry pick it any which way you want.
Well, so here's a question: like, why are most major cities Democrat? No, hold on.
Yeah,
why are cities in general Democrat? In general, you go to West Virginia, go to any urban center, no matter how small it is, for some reason Democrat.
Yeah. I mean, this is a global phenomenon typically where like urban centers tend to be more left. Generally, I think when people congregate and they become like sort of concentrated in certain areas, they just think differently. They don't have the same day-to-day experience as people in more rural areas historically. Right. So
you interact with your neighbor a lot more, I find. You know what I mean? And because you see your neighbor all the time, you think more about your neighbor. I don't know if that's correct.
Wait, in urban areas or rural areas?
In urban areas, for sure. So maybe because of that, then you think when you hear something saying, oh, well, this is better for all of us, and hear the flowery language saying this is better for
you feel like
group.
people in urban areas interact with their neighbor more than like people in the suburbs.
I think that's completely right.
I don't know, but
I feel like they ignore them completely.
Yeah, totally. But I feel like they see them in person.
I think seeing someone and actually interacting with them is so different.
It's different.
Right?
Yeah,
we've talked to a certain degree with our neighbors out here. Mm-hmm. In New York, I lived above, below, side to side and behind a person, and I never saw them, never talked to them, never interacted once.
Totally. I don't mean interact. I just mean like you see them in person. Like
No.
you see the people. I just mean you see the people. Not that maybe you didn't interact, maybe you didn't see them that often. I'm just trying to speculate here and come up with something.
I think in cities, Luke Rudkowski made this video 10 years ago where he said, he goes on the subway all the time and there's millions of people coming in and out and they never once stop and talk to each other. So he decided one day just to talk to them and ask them, and then he asked them about conspiracy theories and stuff. It was kind of funny. But it's a good video. But he makes a good point. Yeah, I think in cities they don't talk to each other.
Yeah, I don't mean talk. I mean like literally see them.
I don't think that's the case. I can't tell you what my neighbors looked like. I can tell you what my neighbors out here look like.
Yeah,
like
true.
To a certain degree, like we have to talk to them. In the city, like I said, I was in an apartment above someone, below someone, had 2 apartments to the side, and an apartment behind me. There was you got the door, and there's a stairwell, and then there's apartments all around it.
Totally.
And then there's one corner, and then behind. I can't tell you what they look like.
Yeah, true. I mean, you definitely have more community in small towns. Definitely, because like that's just reality. You have to rely on your community in a small town.
You're more likely to know who your cops are.
Right, exactly. I'm just trying to
Maybe
come up
that's
with some kind of reason.
Well, the one thing about cities is cities do attract people that want to be in cities. Like you hear the stories all the time about kids that leave their small town to go to the big city. But there are kids that are like, I don't want to go to the big city. I like it. Like you definitely have temperaments. People that have a temperament that is more conducive to wanting to live in an urban area versus someone that wants to live in a rural area. And then, of course, you do have a certain amount of people that would go to a city and be like, this is not for me, or vice versa.
Yeah,
but I think that the people that have that are inclined to go to cities and seek out that kind of lifestyle probably have the same inclination to be like, oh, I think that the government should provide services and et cetera, things like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out like we asked, like why is the Democrats? Do you have a reason?
Maybe. Well, I'll tell you this: Democrat policy, I think, leads to higher crime rates.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just they're really good at scaring people into falling in line and joining the cult, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It would be
like your
hard-
video earlier about that, how it's just people to just go and vote because everyone tells them to go vote.
When you say, there's a meteorologist in New York, Fox News, got beaten up by a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah,
Right,
on Subway.
And,
Yeah,
and the police said, we're not going to arrest or charge them because they were 15 and 17 or whatever.
Well, they said it would be a misdemeanor, and it's like, how is it a misdemeanor when this guy has like very visible marks from being brutally assaulted? That's
but
crazy.
Because of their ages, they weren't charged. They were released to the parents. So these are the policies that Democrats enact. Look, I get it, man. I don't like cash bail. I think we need prison reform. I think we need more police accountability. But like just releasing criminals doesn't seem to make sense.
No, the options that have been brought, or the ideas that have been brought up to deal with the overcriminalization, maybe you call it, in the U.S., they're not good ideas. Like nobody, like the idea of getting rid of the police totally, that's a terrible idea because they're talking about replacing them with social workers that are completely and totally incapable of securing an area to try to deal with whatever's going on.
I think part of it is like this idea, like with the meteorologists, that, well, they're kids, we don't want to mark them with this record, and so we'll release them to their parents. Like, I don't necessarily agree with that, but like there are a lot of places, rural and not, that try to prevent children, especially from being unfairly punished for crimes that, like, if you were an adult and committed, would be pretty serious. So, like, I wrote this article last week about a 18-year-old who, at the age of 16, murdered 4 family members in cold blood, execution style, in West Virginia. And he will be eligible. He's been given life in prison, but because of a mercy rule in West Virginia, because he committed the crimes as a minor, he's eligible for parole in 15 years. So, is that because he deserves it? Is that because his crime is justified? Is that because, like, at 16 he doesn't understand the consequences? Like, you're saying these kids are 15 and 17. If you got caught shoplifting, I could see releasing to your parents. If you leave physical marks on someone, like, you can see that crime is more serious. But I think you sell it, like, if you're someone who lives in an area that is affected by crime, rural or not, being able to say, like, yeah, this person, when you get a criminal record at an early age and it follows you for the rest of life, you are basically on a downward spiral. Like, it's very difficult to overcome that. I think we understand why this stuff sells, but in practical application, it doesn't always serve the communities the best. Yeah. And to really understand the differences between major cities is hard because we don't have a great example of a direct comparison. A city that has high violence and is run by a Republican mayor, and a city that has high violence, similar population, run by a Democrat.
Yeah. Now think about Montreal, for instance, because they're extremely racially and ethnically diverse, and they don't have nearly the level of crime of Chicago. Like, what is wrong with Chicago?
True.
I think it's the corruption. I think Chicago is a mob town. You know, a lot of people are talking about the gangbangers and all that stuff, and like the South Side and the black community. And I'm like, yeah, no, I hear you, man, because I grew up down there. But you got to understand, the cops are crooked as they come. The cops would kidnap and torture people when I was like in my lifetime. You know what I mean? So it's like the crime exists. It just exists in different ways. Something's going on in Chicago where everybody's just kind of a dick. Like not everybody, obviously. You know, I love my Chicago family, but a lot of bad stuff. Like just think about all the early 1900s. Go to Midlothian Turnpike if you want to see where apparently that's where Capone dumped all the bodies. So you've had a history of corrupt government. The past few governors all going to prison. You have gang violence. Something's up with Chicago. I mean, Baltimore's really bad too. Don't get me wrong. Baltimore has a lot of crime. And so people want to look at the surface level and they see a racial component.
I assume there's a lot of crime or there's corruption in Baltimore, but it doesn't. I don't have the same association with corruption that I do with Chicago.
For sure.
You think of Chicago.
But you think the racial component plays like no role whatsoever? I mean, clearly we know that like
it's a surface level thing.
Well, you don't think there's like a big difference as far as like different groups the way they like commit homicide, like the amounts and like the rates?
I don't think the race is the issue.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying like it's not about the race itself being the issue. It's that like the actual. It's just the fact that this group has a higher rate of homicide.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you take into consideration different societal factors.
I mean, it's age
poverty
too.
levels.
It's age too. Like no one is saying like 70-year-old, black people are committing homicides at the same rate as like 15 or like 20-year-old Hispanic people. Like obviously not.
The challenge is you obviously have. I did a documentary. I talk about it periodically about Pruitt, Igoe, Ferguson, the riots. Why people are so angry, why there's crime the way it is. And what ends up happening is I'll have a conversation with someone and they'll say exactly what you did. They'll be like, oh, but young black men are the highest demographic when it comes to murder and stuff. And it's like in Chicago, it's very different in New York. New York has a much lower crime rate, though the crime still does exist.
But no, but that difference still exists there as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what it is this is the challenge of racism, is that people will be like, I'm trying to figure out a pattern here, and I've noticed these two people look different. So I had a conversation with a guy about race realism, and he was mentioning, Somalians have low IQs. And I was like, Somalia, a country in decades of civil war and strife and famine and drought and constant, and then they would make the argument that even people who've left, and I'm like, right, dude, look, you go back 3 generations of a country being destroyed or people coming from a place where there's limited nutrients, you're going to have that go down the line, genetics, epigenetics, or whatever. I don't think that we're solving the problem by comparing a black guy from Haiti to a black guy from the South Bronx. I think there's nature versus nurture components in everything. So there's probably something to be said for looking at an individual and making a determination. Like, if you were to say white people tend to be taller, I'd say, yeah, in Scandinavia. If you were to say Asian people tend to be shorter, I'd be like, right, we know these things exist. But I don't think when we're trying to get to the root of social problems, it's solved by being like, well, I happen to notice the racial components in crime. And I'm like, yeah, and I also noticed the voting patterns, and I also noticed they're releasing people from prisons in these cities. And so I kind of feel like I understand there's a nature versus nurture argument. I kind of think it's in the middle. I think if we're actually going to solve these problems, we need to just calmly say, I don't think the surface level racial component is actually a strong enough correlation or the cause of the problem. I think it could be solved if we didn't have lunatic leftist policy that was releasing people.
But why do you think it is that in New York City, for example, when it comes to the shootings and the murders, it's almost always every year over 93% black and Hispanic?
Oh man, this is a much longer conversation, which you'll probably have in the members only because it's going to take.
Sure. Like
we're 7 minutes past the doing super chats, but I think a large component obviously has to do with why is it that Nigerian immigrants don't have these levels of crime and are very successful with higher salaries, but people born in America who are black, we notice these trends. I think it might have something to do with slavery, the history of racial politics in this country.
I think that you mentioned racial politics. I think that the whole idea of like young black people that study hard and they get told that they're acting white. I think there's a stigma that or at least I hear there's a stigma in the black community about black people that try to excel and they get told, "Oh, you're acting white," and blah blah blah. So it's probably something we gotta
go super chats. Good. But we'll talk about this. We'll get into a lot more of the stuff in the members only show. Not to say that I wouldn't talk about it on YouTube. It's just that we're 7 minutes past when we like to start and do super chats and you get to people questions. So go to timcast.com, become a member, smash that like button, click that join us button at timcast.com, and then we'll carry on this conversation and we'll go into great detail as calmly and reasonably as we want. Of course, look, man, there's a lot of people who just don't care about any arguments, and I'm not a fan of any argument that is tribal purely. You can't convince me. I won't listen to you. I'll say, okay, dude, then we're not having a conversation. Right. If you want to have a conversation, hang out with us at timcast.com. We may disagree, but that's the point. All right, let's read a bunch of angry people who are fans of the quartering. One pissed off hippie says, became a member because I believed in what you were doing. After watching you ignore the quartering situation makes me wish I bought coffee instead. Well, go buy coffee, dude. I have no idea what you're talking about. I know something vaguely having to do with the quartering and Eliza Blue. I don't follow that. I don't do drama. The quartering was scheduled to come on the show next week. He canceled on us. I have no idea why. I don't deal with booking. There you go. Yeah. Smokey Joe says you should hire Justin Roiland to make a Grick and Schmorty cartoon. Done. Big fan. Justin Roiland. Let me know when you want to make your Grick and Schmorty. All right. Society Remastered says, happy episode 700. Thank you for all your hard work and discipline over these years. Also, the Doomsday Clock is straight up emotional abuse. Yeah.
I realized it reminds me of Threat Level Midnight by the Office episode.
I mean, it's the same thing as the... what was the color-coded terror alert that we had for forever
and the fire one too. We don't care.
Fire one?
I'm just kidding. They have like the Smokey the Bear.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes. So that's exactly what it is. It's just a way to get people to be anxious.
Victor Papadopoulos says Nuance Bros video about the Blue Anon version of Tim Pool, aka Dash Dabrowski, was next level hilarious. This super chat's for you, bro.
Yeah, Dash DeBra. Some people think I killed him because he doesn't do those videos anymore on Twitter where he's like, "Oh boy, big news."
He doesn't do anymore.
Not on Twitter.
That's the worst news ever.
He's a lot calmer after the video came out. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he had a whole background. His whole life, he was in Hollywood stuff. He was on Jay Leno's show when he was a little kid.
Really?
Yeah, it was very interesting. He had a whole show. Dude, he used to not actually be a terrible looking kid, and he was dating hotties. It was very bizarre.
We've invited him on the show. I think I invited him twice.
Oh boy!
But they like all of them. They just refuse to do it.
Yeah, I figure.
Yeah, that guy, he does the videos where he puts the camera right up in his face as close as possible, and then he looks past the lens and not into the lens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the eyes look like they're going through you, and then he just keeps his eyes wide and just goes for it. You know?
Creepy.
All right, where are we at? Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, when the apocalypse comes and you're shunned at the gate for lack of trade skills, worry not, good sir. I'll let you into the side door. Teamwork. Yeah, I was basically saying, dude, if the apocalypse happens, I really doubt any, emergency quarantine zone is going to be hey, that's Tim Pool. We really could use a guy who complains about stuff. Come in here, and we'll give you our food. They're going to be bro, can you chop wood or not? I'll be I'll figure it out, man. Give me food.
Are you bringing your chickens with you?
That's the thing. I got chickens. They're going to come to me and be bro, we want chickens. And I'll be you have to listen to me complain, and you got to do work.
Oh, man.
Cody Justin Fannin says, come on, Tim, free the quartering. Was the quartering banned from YouTube or something?
No, I just looked at Twitter. I saw him on Twitter. I don't know if it was YouTube.
No, he's locked out of Twitter because he won't delete the tweet that they're locking him out of the account for.
Oh, I see.
How dealt with the Eliza Blue thing.
And you personally can free him, Tim. I didn't know that.
I'll call Elon. Actually, Luke's the one who has to do that.
Yeah,
he's the one who's
Luke's gone, guys.
No, but we had the quartering booked for a month.
Apparently, I have to do that. Apparently, I've got all the connects over Twitter.
Shout out Jeremy. I just found out earlier today that he canceled on us, and I don't know anything about it. I don't do booking. I have no idea.
Yeah, for real. He has been on that, by the way, guys. He has been on that thing for, I think, over a month.
Yeah, we booked him a long time ago. We booked him a while back. I can't remember exactly what happened, but we were going to have him come out, and then he said it was too short notice, too fast. Something like that happened. And then I was let us know whenever you want to come out. And then I guess we booked a date for the 30th or whatever. Yeah. But then I just found out today he canceled. So we had to pull in a sub. We had to try and scramble to find somebody else. We would love to have Jeremy here. We were going to talk coffee. That was the point. Wanted to have him come out. We were going to talk about coffee. But I know, he's going through whatever it is he's going through. So, best of luck, man. I don't know. Jeremy's a good dude.
Hashtag unban Brittany Venti. Hashtag unban the quartering.
True.
All right. Yeah, but Trump says, yes, I'd lightly smashed the clicker for the like button. I'm happy to see Phil again and glad about him being more involved in the show. Hannah Claire is awesome. I love her so much. Look at that.
Thanks.
Yeah!
See, we were better recasting.
Yeah.
This is like a better season of the show.
Well, Ian will be back.
I'm just kidding.
Ian's going to be gone until Friday night, so he may be on the show Friday night. He brought Bocus to an experimental laboratory for stem cell therapy. It's interesting because they can do bilateral kidney transplants for cats that are ridiculously expensive. This stem cell treatment's actually cheap. They harvest his own stem cells from his blood and fat, then they put them into his blood, and it will help his organs and his damaged kidneys. There's no guarantee it saves his life because it's experimental, but they, like what we know about stem cell therapy, they're confident, and it's a couple grand, I think, so it's expensive. But like getting your cat a kidney transplant, oh man, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Because I've had people were telling me that they would spend 50 grand for one more day with their cat, and I'm like, look, man, we love Mr. Bocus, he's a cat.
50.
But like 50 grand hires a person to go, cover an important story and help humanity. Like, I don't want to let the cat die, but there's a limit, man.
And its surgery is not nothing, right? Like your cat would go under anesthesia, which is hard on them. Like you have to weigh all of the.
Well, that's why that's the main reason he's not getting it, is because he wouldn't survive it.
Yeah.
They told us that because of his conditions, he wouldn't survive a kidney transplant anyway. So good luck. They said he might have a week left. He might have 6 months. We have no idea. So we've been giving him intravenous fluids and a hormone to generate red blood cells, which seems to have given him life again, because before he was staggering around, falling over. He was anemic. The red blood cell hormone treatment, I guess, brought him back, but he barely eats. He's getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and he's getting very,
and nothing
very close to
reverses kidney failure. I mean, other
Stem
than maybe
cells.
stem cells, but
Yeah.
before that, there wasn't.
But right, so we don't. They think the stem cells will. We're not 100% sure. We watched a video in the members only section before about stem cell therapy. Sounds like it might. They don't
Pretty
know.
impressive stuff.
Did he have to
Yeah.
qualify? Like, were there
Yep.
any obligations for
He
him?
had to have certain like blood levels and medical stuff, and they said he qualifies. He has to get medication. They put him under anesthesia. They harvest stem cells. They inject them, and then we'll see what happens, man.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, the sad thing is, the doctor said they don't think it's anything that could have been averted. He was a street cat. He has a bad heart. He has bad kidneys. They're underdeveloped. This is what happens with street cats. You rescue, and it's a bummer.
Do you have any pets?
Yeah, man.
No.
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 All right, let's see. Let's grab one. OMG Puppy says, outside the U.S. media bubble, the world is not worried about Russia starting nuclear war. They're worried about America starting nuclear war with their when their neocon plans don't work. Yeah, I hear that, man.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Don't worry, we're worried about that as well.
That's right. Mavis says, according to Canadian Prepper, there's a Russian ship or sub off the East Coast and off of the coast of Hawaii. They're poised to strike at any time. I believe it.
That's likely.
Yeah, we had someone super chat saying they work on a sub and they do patriols, because you got to go around and try and find
They're
the
super
Russians
chatting you from a sub? It's
when they're not on
amazing.
patrol.
Yeah,
you
they-
can't send signals like that from submarines at certain depths, I guess.
They don't have 5G down there.
I don't know the exact depth, but different frequencies can't penetrate water.
This is Starlink?
No.
Yeah, so like the best radiation shield, I think they do is for shuttles and space stuff. Water. They have water
true.
line because water diffuses radiation. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I learned that when I was trying to create a water drone. Back in the early days, 12 years ago, we were doing a bunch of drone work, and we had ground drones, remote control cars, air drones, water drones. And the problem with water drones is you can't get signal underwater, so they have to be connected. But they do have these really cool thing. It's a fish, and it swims around. It's like autonomous, and it scans holes and stuff and sends data back. It's really cool stuff. Wow. Yeah, and then this is amazing. I had this little remote control 2-wheeled car with a camera on it that I would bring with me when I would do field reporting. Because what we would do is, if we were at a point where there was like a police line and you couldn't go past it, I would take it off my bag, pop its wheels out, turn it on, and then just chuck it because it bounces. And then you take your phone app and you drive it through and you can film what's going on. Yeah. And then we also had I had the air drone on my backpack that I could take off, put it down, launch with the computer, and then live stream what it was showing. We only did it a couple times, but the idea was like, hey man, I'm allowed to drive my little remote control car. It had a range of a couple hundred feet, and it could go around corners. And so if I'm like, not only that, if there's like active rioting and Molotovs, I'll send in the little car to film so you can see what's going on.
Oh, true.
That was fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, like, nobody really does it anymore. It was just me and my friends were doing the weird hacker stuff on the ground. Most people just don't even live stream at all. All right. Brandon Hampson says, Tim, the clock has 90 seconds now, but you're forgetting about daylight savings time. Once March hits, the world ends. Good point.
Great.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what we got. We'll grab some more super chats.
Why did they pick this clock? Like, they're like, it is just to stress you out? Like, it's a clock with no
Yeah, of
specific
course.
date.
Yeah, it's the anxiety clock.
Yeah. Be anxious.
Yeah.
Talbot Link says top secret material is largely a joke these days. I was forced to subvert clearance as a teenager to work on Blackhawks as a contractor. TS pages in the manuals for mundane equipment and full print on IFF and secure radio systems. Interesting.
Overclassification.
Yeah.
Sterling Wilson III says, guys, who thinks they're running for president in 24? It's pretty simple that the deep state is willing to burn all of the olds and have a coastal presidential face-off, CA versus Florida. Newsom versus DeSantis.
That doesn't sound
Well, don't
far-fetched
forget
to me
about
at all.
Bolton. He's in the race, right?
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, Nikki Haley's almost certainly jumping into.
The nuclear mustache.
And what's her name? Christine Ohm seems to be positioning herself.
Really?
Yeah. DeSantis versus Noem seems to make a lot of sense, and then DeSantis wins. Let's see. Brown Bear says, Tim, look up the Jason Harley shooting guy. Got blasted by SWAT when he opened his door, and now they're trying to charge him with a bunch of bunk. I saw the video.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, that's the video where he walks to the door, the camera's in it, and he opens it, and he has his hands out, and they start shooting him. And then the cops come in and say, oh, F.
Yeah.
There's
And they
cameras.
released a statement saying he came out yelling, he was
Yep.
in confrontation.
Yeah, just total BS.
Criminal charges, man.
Cherokee County, North Carolina.
Lock them up.
There
Criminal charges.
should absolutely be criminal charges for that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I think that there had been another big officer-involved shooting in the same county, like a month before. A bunch of officers had put
If you watch the video, the reason that he got shot is because he opened the door. He had their drone. They threw a drone into his house in the middle of the night.
Like a flying one? Like,
No, just a little roller one,
Yeah.
and you you can see on the camera it rolls around or whatever.
Yep. That's
the
what I was
guy's
talking
like,
about.
"What the heck is this? What's going on?" He walks out to the door with the drone in his hand and opens the door like this, puts his hands up, and he's got the drone in his hand. But even still, his hands are in the air, right? Like he's not pointing at anything. Your hands are up. You should you should never ever ever have anything in your hands when the cops are around. Absolutely, I understand that, but still, his hands
not
are
aggressive
at this point.
He's in a submitting.
Don't give him an
posture.
excuse ever.
No, never give him an excuse.
At this point, what I would do is just lay on the ground, spread my legs and arms, and I'm not moving, no matter what a cop says. Because you remember that video where the cop walks in and he's like, crawl to me, crawl.
Oh, yeah.
Like Simon says, now put your hands up, now glad down. And then what happened was the guy's crawling and his pants are falling down. He goes to pull his pants up and the dude just unloads on him and kills him.
Yep.
I'm like, bro should have just laid there and spread his arms and legs out as wide as possible and then just not done anything.
And that
not
poor-
said a word, not done a thing.
That poor dude was drunk too. He'd been
He had a pest
drinking all
gun.
day. What?
He had a pest gun. He had a pellet gun for pest removal.
Oh, is that what he had?
And
too?
someone saw it through the window. So they called the police that a man was waving on a gun, which he wasn't. So they showed up. He has no idea what's happening.
And
They're screaming at him.
He had his shirt off and he just had sweatpants on. And his sweatpants were falling down. He went to grab them and pull them up.
I think
and
he was
that's
wearing
when
a shirt.
shot. I'm
But he was
pretty
crawling and his pants fell down and he pulled it up. And I mean, to be
Cop
honest,
shot him.
the cop shouldn't have shot him. But to the cop, he sees a guy's reaching for his belt, a guy who's reportedly has a gun. Either way, though, it's like, dude, if you're that scared, you shouldn't be a cop.
Yep.
For real.
100%.
And apparently the guy got rehired or something.
It's atrocious.
Yeah.
Michael Teal says Rand Paul today said the amount of things listed as classified is absurd. The food menu at the White House is classified. That one actually makes sense to me, though.
Yeah, I mean everything.
Go on,
we have an
explain.
overclassification.
If at the
problem,
White
for
House
sure.
they're serving braised short rib with mashed potatoes and bread with truffle butter, and someone is trying to cause harm to government officials, and they need to know if they're going to taint food, what that food will be.
Right.
It makes sense to classify that food so that no one can figure out what fake food to send in.
I get that. But if you hear now, oh, the classified documents they find at Mike Pence's house is actually a menu from a state dinner that someone in his family kept, is that still the same precaution? I would get it for active presidential, issues, but like if it's like a piece of their scrapbook, like I don't know that we're
And should they
operating with
remain classified, like the menu? Should it remain classified in perpetuity, or like?
Doesn't make sense.
Someone released the menu from 6 weeks ago.
Well, and occasionally the White
Arrest
House,
him.
like for state dinners and stuff, they'll release the menu before. Like there's this big thing where they were like, when they had Emmanuel Macron in town, they're like, here's all this stuff, including this salmon or this lobster from Maine, right after Biden had like passed or allowed all of these restrictions to be placed on the Maine lobster industry. And the entire Maine congressional delegation was like, could you please meet with us immediately? If you're going to serve Maine lobsters, you should at least be not strangleholding the industry. And as far as I know, he has still not met with the Maine congressional delegation.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Maine is like I think it's a $1.2 billion industry in Maine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Denise Ann says Robert Barnes thinks DeMar died, and they'll reveal it after SB, Super Bowl. I wouldn't put it past them. NFL wants to be relevant. No, not going to happen.
Isn't
What does the
Barnes
Super Bowl
also
have to
the
do with
guy who said that Trump's going to pick DeSantis as his VP and the deal's been made? He says a lot of things.
Yeah, like, come on, guys. I'm not saying this about Barnes, whatever. I'll say this in general. If you think after the Super Bowl they'll come out and announce, actually, DeMar died and that wasn't him, or at the very least, yes, he's dead, that is just movie-level stuff that doesn't happen. To be fair, I guess, this season, could potentially be crazier than the past. The writers for the simulation have been kind of going off the rails, so maybe, but I wouldn't put chips on it.
What would sorry, I don't understand football. I would like to very much, but what does the Super Bowl have to do with the timing? Just like that's the big
That's the
crescendo.
last. That's
Yeah.
the
But like,
game.
why not wait until next season? Why not wait until why wait until the Super Bowl specifically?
Why just not say anything? Why
Yeah.
not just
keep this guy around?
Just say literally nothing, and then people will eventually forget about him, and then no one will ever have to say anything about anything.
Right.
If he actually died, they can just do nothing, and then a year will go by, but whatever happened to DeMar? But he retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, hard
Why
thing.
not?
Crazy. What's he doing now? Family.
Yeah.
Why is it? Why isn't he in the press?
Yeah. Why
Well, 'cause he's not
why
playing
spend all this
football.
money for all
He
this?
retired.
Yeah.
So he's not in the press anymore. No, he's not playing football.
Yeah.
Sorry, have a nice day. Why not? I don't know. I don't know who that guy was. They haven't proved it was him, but I don't know if they're going to come up and be like, he's actually dead.
I mean, okay.
What is this?
Well, now you go.
We Are Change in the chat says, I didn't do this. Do what? You left, bro. You trying to opine here on this show? You're not even in
Tim's
the room.
mad at you.
We're gonna get Seamus.
We miss you, Luke.
Seamus, where? Everybody tweet at Seamus. Tell Seamus to come back because Luke abandoned us.
Yeah. it's
Phil,
true.
we're not good enough replacements over here.
Yeah, so basically Luke breaks up with the show, so we go crawling back to Seamus.
Crawling back to
I've been
Seamus.
texting Seamus for months, telling him to get back out here.
He talks a lot about on the internet or on Twitter about wanting to come back.
He just needs to do it.
So then do it, Seamus.
I messaged him. I said, Seamus, we miss you. Come back. We want you on the show. And he was like, I'll figure it out. I'm like, he hates us.
Luke said. Luke
He's
says
on a
we left
journey.
him.
He's sowing his wild oats.
No, I'm kidding. Seamus doesn't hate us. Seamus has got, his own company, and the same thing with Luke. Like, Luke and Seamus both run their own company, so they have to do their own stuff, and then they come on the show when they come
I'm
on
sure
the show.
Actual Justice Warrior is totally willing to come here and be a co-host.
Didn't we had him on the show before?
I know, but you
Sean's
just bring him
great.
on as a regular host. Why not?
Oh, I mean, he can come,
I had to give him at least one shout out during the show. I
is
told him
he
I-
chat?
Did he pay you? For
No,
that?
I always, I had to. He's a good friend. So
I watch all his stuff. He's hilarious.
Siloa says Justin Roiland was a proponent of Me Too cancel culture. Now he's getting canceled years later for domestic charges and leaked questionable private messages. Look into it. Let them eat their own.
Was he pro cancel culture? Really?
I think so.
I don't know. If he was, well then, But here's my attitude. Anybody who apologizes, I'll say, welcome. So if Justin Roiland came out and was like, look, I was wrong about that stuff, guys, please. I desperately need help. They're destroying my life. I'd be like, okay, I got you, bro. I think Rick and Morty's funny. He's made a lot of funny jokes. I love the joke where they did, I think it was like season 4 or something, where he's in his own brain and he's being interrogated by the aliens. And then he's having a memory. He's like, oh no, this is the time. He's like, the worst memory of my life when 9/11 happened. And then, like, in the background, you hear him very quietly go, they're going to use this as a pretext for taking away our freedoms. Like, he's got good jokes, man. I like it.
Yeah,
I love the Pickle Rick one when he's like, I turned myself into a pickle, Morty. And he's like, and? He goes, and? And what? Do you want me to say 9/11 was an inside job or something?
Yeah,
Like,
that's so funny.
that was good. Like, and what? I turned myself into a pickle.
I love that show.
Yeah, he does a good job. This season was okay.
Yeah, it was okay.
Everything was kind of wonky with COVID and everything in the past couple seasons, but there
How
were a
many
few good
seasons
episodes.
are they on? It's been a
6, I
long
think.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a decade.
Yeah.
6 seasons a decade, man. You got to make your show faster. Yeah. 2 Cents Lopez says, check with Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch. He sued Obama for having classified documents and lost in court. They said president can declassify. Does Crowder want to destroy Daily Wire? What's his end goal? I don't know what Crowder's end goal is. I mean, I think my view of Crowder is that my opinion is that he views the Rumble Locals model, where an individual retains their subscribers, as like a better way to do things. Because like even they made the point. I think the only real concern he has is, I think they were saying, don't claim you're fighting big tech when you're outright outlining your contracts that people have to be on big tech, because that doesn't seem like legitimate, like honest. So I don't know, whatever. I don't think he wants to destroy anything. I think he wants things to be different.
He brought up the Obama classification thing.
Who did?
And then the super chat
Yeah.
for the Tom. Yeah, because I think the thing with Obama and the classified documents is that they're in the hands of like the National Archives. Like the National Archives manages the classified documents for Obama, even though they're like they're like presidential library or something like that. I don't know, but I don't think that was what people were making it out to be.
All right, let's see. David Tartman says, great meeting you and Phil at Freedom Plaza. If you do another event when it warms up, I'll bring a whole battery-powered band to play while you skate. Yeah, probably. And we're doing a live event at the Vulcan in Austin. I think it's in April.
In April, yeah.
I don't have the link or anything ready, but apparently it's up. They can buy tickets now, can't they?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So it's the Vulcan.
Yeah, at the Vulcan.
Alex Stein's going to be there. Alex Jones, Michael Malice, Blair White, Luke Rukowski, maybe a handful of other people. We're gonna have a blast down there in Austin. We're gonna be doing the show live from Austin for the week. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Right.
And maybe some other guests. And then the day after, so I think it's Friday, Timcast IRL live, and then Saturday is the Minds event. So we're like the events aren't in conjunction, but like, we planned it because we're friends with Minds. So we do our thing Friday night, and then the next day you have the whole Minds event. So it's going to be a blast. It's going to be a great weekend. Yeah. And then I'll of course be. I don't know if I'm officially at the Minds thing in some. I don't know what the official capacity is that I'll be there, but I'll be there. I don't know if they put me on a panel or something.
I think you're listed on the actual thing.
I mean, I'm there. We're hanging out. We're doing a party and stuff. Something. I don't know. We're all friends. We're all doing this. But it's like Friday night we do our thing, and then the next day is the Big Minds thing. It's gonna be a whole awesome.
When is this?
April.
Okay.
What is it? Do you guys
Yours is
know
the
date?
14th. The 15th
Yeah,
is the
it's
Minds
14th.
thing.
That's correct.
14th.
Yeah.
14th. The 15th is the Minds thing.
Oh, okay. You're gonna be there.
If you
You're gonna be there.
want,
We're gonna have
I'll
you
be
there. Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, we're gonna figure
It's
it
my
out.
birthday, the 15th.
So nice of mine to throw you a party.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, we'll bring a cake and. All
Ice
right.
cream cake.
We'll just grab a couple more here. Ronald Pant says, not overclassified. It's called OPSEC. Look it up and look up how that and Tom Clancy and POWs in Vietnam are related. Interesting. All right, last one. Shane Marley says, both of them are much better guests than Seamus because they don't preach Bible stuff to me. Well, I actually like that about Seamus. I thought it was interesting to have, we don't have staunchly religious individuals as often. With Seamus, it created a different perspective you don't often hear. Right. I think it's valuable. Ian's the graphene guy. Everyone's got their quirks. Luke's the parks departments are communist. He's like, we have our cast of characters with their specialties.
Speaking about, he mentioned religion. Just today, you didn't talk about it, but there was a book released that Pope Benedict, the previous pope, not the current one, passed away. He wrote it before he passed away. Obviously, but he wanted it released after he passed away because of the stuff that he said. Essentially, the Catholic Church the whole Vatican has been overtaken by like liberation theology, which is the basically Marxist Catholicism. Essentially, the whole Holy Roman Catholic Church has fallen to the Antichrist. Like if you're a Catholic, that's
Seamus,
essentially
where
what's going
are you?
on.
I think Seamus talks about this, actually.
Yeah.
Seamus, tell people the Catholic Church has fallen to the Antichrist.
All right, everybody, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at timcast.com. Click that join us button. We're going to have a members-only uncensored show, not so family-friendly, coming up. We post them about 11 p.m. I got through that very quickly just for you guys. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast Nuance Bro. Do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, follow me, Nuance Bro, on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all that good stuff. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Anytime, brother.
Awesome.
Yeah. We'll bring you and Actual Justice Warrior on at the same time if you guys ever want
That
to come
sounds
back.
awesome.
I would like to meet Sean.
Yeah.
It's good people.
I dig his stuff.
Good people.
Right on.
I'm Hannah Claire. I'm a writer for Timcast.com. You should follow Timcast News on Twitter. It's where you can see work from me and all the rest of our journalists. You can follow me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. You can follow me on Twitter at hcbrimlow. And yeah, thanks you guys for having me.
Yeah.
I'm Phil That Remains. Follow me on Twitter. I'm Phil That Remains official on Instagram. The band is called All That Remains. We're heavy metal, and we will kick you in the privates.
And I am at Serge.com. It's good to be back, guys. That was a fun one.
Right on. Someone mentioned that Timcast is not on the Vulcan website that I see. I don't know. We gotta get the link or something. We'll figure it out and we'll get it up soon. So and then we'll share it and we'll have it on all the posts. So you can buy tickets. And I don't know how many seats is it. A couple hundred or something.
I think it's a couple hundred.
Yeah. So
you should get
Probably
your
gotta sell it
tickets
quick.
early. Is really
For sure.
all right, everybody. We will see you all over at timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.
Cheers.